What is happening, everyone? Happy Tuesday, July 9th. Big show, an elephant in the room. No, that is not Yuli. That is Gary, my friends. You may have listened or seen him on Debate Night right here on the Foundation Podcast channel. Yuli is currently in Europe. Now, this show was supposed to be filmed, pre-recorded this morning. Turns out him and AB got their bags lost. And I think it was an absolute nightmare day for them over there. So hopefully everything works out. But we got Gary filling in. I called in the ringer. He's coming in. He's going to keep me straight and in line today. So it should be a good show. We got a lot to discuss. Obviously, the DMC just went down. The Des Moines Challenge just went down with AB absolutely throwing down the gauntlet the final day and said, come and get me. And no one did. So we're going to break that down. Emily Weathermen, a name that did pop up once in this season that I remember seeing her at DDO. Heck, she almost won that tournament. We kind of forgot about that. She finally gets her first win on tour here. Very impressive. We have her at the end. So that was a pre-recorded interview that will be aired at the end of the episode. So make sure you guys stick around for that. I sit down with her for like an hour and just go from the very beginning to the very end. Very, very fascinating and interesting interview. So make sure you stick around to that. We're going to break down everything that went down at the DMC recap. That is including the Gecko on hole 5. European Open. What are we doing? We'll jump into that. What the heck is going on at the European Open? Kristin Tattar announces her return. What should we be expecting from her coming back? And then we are finishing it off with some listener questions. But before we get into that, disc golf pins, my friends. Disc golf pins. Spice up your disc golf bag with disc golf pins and patches. Disc golf pins are high-quality enamel pins that you can put on all your disc golf gear and apparel. Each pin has a double pin back equipped with a butterfly clutch to safely and securely attach your pins to whatever you choose. Disc Golf Pins also offers a free, fun, and creative line of stickers, shirts, patches, and their newest disc golf game, Crazy Caddy Pro, recently featured on a Foundation video. So definitely check that out. With hundreds of different designs and products to choose from, you can pick up the perfect pin and accessory to match your personality or support your favorite pro. Proceeds from your purchase will even go towards helping them go on tour. So go check out discgolfpins.com to start your collection today. Use code FOUNDATION for 20% off your order. That's FOUNDATION for 20% off your order at Disc Golf Pins. Gary, do you have any disc golf pins? You rocking any disc golf pins?
I've got a number of pins on my bag. The problem is I switch bags between rounds, so it's like always hard to keep pins on the one bag that I want to use. But every time I go to a big event, I always try to grab a pin because I want to like commemorate being there. Yep. So yeah, I've got a few.
I need to start getting my pin game going. I got no pins. I just got patches. So I gotta start getting some pins. I used to do that too with Ultimate Frisbee. Every tournament I went to in Ultimate Frisbee, I always try to get a disc from that tournament, and I have them somewhere in some big Tupperware. I don't know why I'm looking around. They're definitely not in this room, but they're somewhere in this household. But yeah, this is the part of the episode where me and Yuli kind of talk about our week. So I'll let you go first. How did your week go, brother?
It's going pretty well. This past weekend, I got to venture out in the heat, and we had a really cool event here locally. We call it the Triple Double every year. It's three doubles rounds where you got to, battle it out with best shot doubles, Dutch doubles, and best shot doubles at 3 local courses. And
wow,
it's a lot of fun to get out there and play. It's a long day in the heat. I mean, I know it's not nowhere near the heat that you're used to with the Texas life, but it's hot for us Northerners sometimes, especially when it gets to feels like over 100. But no, it's been a good week so far. Getting to watch some good disc golf, and I'm here on the pod. It can't be better than that.
Debut. Yeah. So for people there are people slowly joining the live, and for those that are listening, again, this is Gary, probably the most prominent winner, I think, this year on Debate Night. I think you do have the most wins. If I am,
maybe
so. Silas, maybe you can fact check that. But we're gonna be talking a lot of disc golf today, so it should be interesting. And I've got a lot to talk about my week. I actually had a lot go down this week. First one being, I don't know if anyone saw, the boys got kind of rowdy with the fireworks. All right. It was July 4th. There was a firework place that was right next to the course, and it had the big old sign that says buy four, get one free, or buy one, get four free. I didn't even remember what it was, but it was a deal that caught my eye. So me, Ezra, Aaron, and Tristan all went in. They had another thing where it's like if you bought $300, you got a free jackpot, which I don't know what a jackpot was, but it was a big thing of fireworks. So I said we need to buy $300. So I think I bought 150. They bought 100, and then I bought 50 more so we could get to that 300. And then we proceeded to go aptly berserk. Now, I love fireworks. I am all for the fireworks. If you go back, way back, I think it's on my golf channel now. It's the channel that literally bounced around to a bunch of different stuff, but I think now it's Brodie Smith Golf. If you go on that channel and search like Frisbee fireworks, you'll see like years ago, like a decade ago, I'm putting mortars on top of Frisbees. I'm putting sparklers and smoke bombs, and I'm chucking them off and having a great time. So I love doing this stuff, but it quickly took the back seat when I got these things called the zappers. I've never even heard of these things. And I chucked one of them, and I think it landed incorrectly, and the thing went off 5 feet above our heads. And I was like, I'm out on that. And then Aaron might be an arson. I don't know. Aaron might be an arson. The Goose Man was going absolute nuts, doing all sorts of crazy stuff. But if you haven't seen that video, go check it out because it was a pretty crazy video. Good time. Me, Yuli, and AB all got to join the steak battle on Titan Disc Golf's YouTube channel. I think I ended up eating close to 26 ounces of steak. I couldn't stop. It was delicious. Hopefully I will get invited back because I had an absolute blast, and I will let that. If you want me to come on your podcast, just cook me a steak. I'll come on any podcast that cooks me a steak. Absolutely great. Me and Goose had a 45-minute discussion on how to fix ratings. So that's always nice when I'm not on tour for a while. I come back. We get into that deep discussion on ratings. That was awesome. I battled a raccoon.
Oh, that's great.
This was on hole 18, and this raccoon was just chilling. Now, I think like Brian Earhart or someone ended up, someone gave information that raccoons only come out during the day to gather food when they have like offspring. So I think that's what it was doing. Some people thought it was rabid. But I was over in the woods on an 18, and like my little chip shot out, I was just going to blast a raptor through this like 3-foot gap. And he was right where I was thinking like a good shot would land. And I was like, guys, I don't feel comfortable throwing this because if I hit a raccoon right now, this would be, I couldn't come back from this. So I went up with a little stick and kind of waved it. It actually ended up going over by Calvin's disc, which was kind of funny, but dealt with the raccoon. Got to give a shout out to Jason Lawson. Jason Lawson had the absolute nastiest shot the entire week. Hole 15, he was out of position on that dog leg left. He was short left, blind shot, out of position, and he threw up the nastiest flex forehand from like 400 feet. Parked the hole. Absolutely disgusting. Had to give a shout out to him. Calvin Heimberg is a maniac. He forgot to tell the Swedish Open TD that he wasn't playing in it. And the Swedish Open TD like messaged him being like, hey, are you playing? And this is where I give like hats off to Calvin. Most people would be like, no, I'm not playing in this tournament that I am registered for in a couple days. The dude bought a flight, jumped on a plane like the next day and flew out there and played. So hats off to Calvin for doing that and then coming back and playing Des Moines. I know a lot of people are wondering, like, why did he do that? It was simply just to not have, like, the spectators, the fans, the TD that probably were really excited for him to come, for him not to show up. So shout out to that. Pro-Am event, absolutely huge success. I hopefully will see that more in the future. I got to play with 4 awesome people. It was me, AB, Cole, and Gannon. We each had 4 guys and gals on our team or on our card, and we got to play the entire course. It was absolutely fun. Hopefully they do that in the future, and if they do, definitely jump at the opportunity. It's a great time. And last thing, Gary, I'm Team Cart Gang. I'm Team Cart Gang.
Welcome.
Your Team Cart Gang?
Listen, carts are perfect at the right courses. Some courses you definitely don't want to have to lug that thing around, but I found that you just are able to stay so much more refreshed because of what it does to your back. You know, when your bag is constantly like slacking on your back during the entire round, and you have to keep like ratcheting up the straps to keep it high on your shoulders, it can be distracting. And like you get done with the end of the round, you sit down and you're like, oh my word, why does my back hurt so much? But the cart really helps out a lot. Although the first few times you use a cart, you realize there's some muscles in like your left arm that you haven't used before.
Sure.
But no, it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, I ended up carrying my bag on. So I flew up. I believe I flew up Wednesday morning, 2 days before the tournament. I played a practice round, the one that we filmed on Ezra and Mai's channel. I carried my bag during that practice round, and then I did the Pro-Am right after that and carried my bag. So I played close to like 32 holes on Wednesday. And then I did another practice round on Thursday carrying my bag again. And come Friday, I was like, my back was killing me. I was in massive amounts of pain. And I had a caddy Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and my back was getting considerably better throughout the tournament, which was awesome. But yeah, this round, normally when I go and play, like by hole 12, 11, 13, 14, my lower back starts causing like a lot of issues. And today I played one of the longest layouts that we have here in Dallas. It's over 10,000 feet, this course. It's a different layout, but no back issues.
Yeah.
So
that's great. You notice it a lot, I think, in your putting sometimes too, because so much of your putt comes from like a power base, so that when you have a fresher back, it's easier to kind of feel confident in like the structure your legs are in, or if you're straddling or jump putting, any kind of weakness in your back just becomes so noticeable. So you sometimes wonder if more players get caddies or start using carts, would you stop seeing putts fall short near the end of long tournaments?
that is interesting. Yeah. I mean, when I first came on, I remember having like a discussion about caddies with Paul, and he was basically saying like, I will never have a caddy. I don't want to have a caddy. I want to carry my own bag. I don't want to get out of that rhythm. And, Paul being the best player at the time kind of sets the culture. Like a lot of people probably look at him and be like, oh, Paul carries his own bag. I'm going to carry my own bag. Now, I think everyone on league card had a caddy. I would say even like the cards I'm on, where we're like 20th card, 30th card, something like that. A lot of people are starting to have caddies because it's like, why wouldn't you have a caddy? It makes no sense. Like if your mental game is that bad to where you're like, I have to carry my bag, I'm not gonna be able to play well unless that's crazy to me. That makes no sense. Walking around that long for that many hours with that bag on your back, like it has to take some away from you. It has to. So it doesn't make any sense.
In a sport where like longevity is so important and trying to make sure you can play longer, a caddy now, a bad caddy can sometimes hurt you a little bit. So it's important to find somebody that you can trust to understand the vibe that you want to have on the card. Because I've had caddies before who I've been very lucky. I mean, locally, I'm not a pro or anything like that. So having a caddy is kind of fun, but I've seen caddies who are just too chatty and it's hard to stay focused. But I've also seen players who want the chatty caddies because chatty caddy, put that on a t-shirt, who they want to almost take their mind off of the strenuous part of the round and just between shots be able to blow off steam and talk about whatever. So having the right caddy is important. But yeah, I've been an advocate for, I feel like you're going to see it more and more on the tour. And it's working for Yuli. I mean, what he's got going on with Brad, that's something special right there.
Yeah, and I get a different caddy every tournament. Now I've had the same caddy at some tournaments year after year, but I've probably had 25 to 30 plus random people that I'm meeting for the first time there. And I would say like 98% of the time, I just tell them, listen, you're just here to have a good time, carry the bag. There might be some times where I ask you a question, but other than that, we're just hanging out, brother, and having a good time. And 98% of the time, it's fine. Of course, you have sometimes some issues here and once.
Mhm.
Shay goes, Robbie C was the 2%. But yeah, for the most part, like it's normally pretty fine and pretty chill. So all right, quick little Discraft promo here, guys. Me and Yuli reached out to Discraft. We're like, hey, can we get something for the people here? Man of the people. We're trying to get something going for you guys. We got you a 15% off code. Okay. 15% off code right now if you use Tour Life 15. Capital T, capital L. I actually don't know if the capitalization matters, but we're going to say it does. Capital T, capital L, Tour Life 15. Right now, if you go to Team Discraft's website, that's teamdiscraft.com, 15% off. I think it's good all through the week, too. So if you're like right now, hey, let me wait for Friday, let me wait for payday, let me wait for Saturday. That's when I like to buy my plastic. 15% off for you guys, teamdiscraft.com. And there's fire stuff right now on the site from all your favorite pros. So definitely go check that out. And shout out to Discraft for hooking you guys up. Really appreciate them. I've already talked to you guys about how much it means to me that they let me just kind of run this podcast the way I want to run it. So shout out to them. Use the code TourLife15 for 15% off at teamdiscraft.com. All right, let's jump into this recap here. DMC, I'm going to tell you right now, Gary. This is one of those tournaments that hopefully I'm playing when I'm 40. That's actually not that far from now. Hopefully I'm playing when I'm 50. 40 is like around the corner. It's like, oh, I hope I play this in the next couple years. For a couple reasons. First one is just the fans. I think they do an incredible job. Des Moines isn't like the biggest place in the world. Like the airport in Des Moines is super, super small. It's not a big city, but they show out to this tournament like we are playing in a big city. So the fans, got to shout to them. The Beehive on hole 5 is electric. Absolutely love it. I know we all look forward to it. I wish that was like later in the round because I feel like the energy would be great. But it definitely does kind of send you off into the course, so that's great. The weather is the only thing that's kind of like a wild card, like the Midwest in July. We got lucky this time. We only just had one day with a lot of wind. The rest was fine. But Des Moines, from a player's standpoint, it's an absolutely awesome course. A lot of these courses we go and play on tour, if I lived in the area, I might go play them once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks. If I lived near Pickard Park, I would play that course 3 to 4 times a week. Does it translate for you as a viewer, as a spectator, watching it coverage? Does it translate as well as like a great environment, great tournament, great course?
For sure. I've said to, it's funny. My parents visited over the weekend and I put on the live stream from hole 5, and it's amazing how we were kind of talking about stuff, but like we kept gravitating towards the screen because it's just such an electric environment. I said, how fun would it be to get tickets and just go chill out, in the Hive for the whole day and just go see some great shots, be around great people. And it looks like a lot of fun. I mean, for me, I look at courses a bit differently than probably the average fan. I'm really, really like into the game and analytical about courses. And so I see a lot of the nuance, and it just seemed like a beautiful course. It's definitely on my top 10 courses that I need to get to in my life.
Yeah, for sure.
And just the way the course is designed, but the atmosphere, yeah, it does translate as a fan, and it makes me want to get it. Like if I were to think about the events that I could go see as a fan, this one's on the list just because of the atmosphere that's portrayed in the coverage.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that it has going for it is it has a tournament staff, volunteers, the local people that take care of the course. They are interested in not just saying like, hey, this is the course, this is what you get. They have shown year after year evolving, changing, making the tweaks to make the course better and better and better. We have been saying for years and years and years, hole 16 doesn't fit. No one likes it. It's a lucky shot, blind down a hill. There's a bunch of trees. We don't like it. And it's not great to film either. And what'd they do? They finally got rid of it. and they added 2 holes. And then that's the other thing is they got the wild card Gannon Burr, who actually has a pretty good eye. And I mean, again, hats off to him. When he came on the podcast, we were talking about forced carries, and he was like, I don't like forced carries. I don't want forced carries. It's going to make me think. He put a forced carry on one of the holes he created. Hole 17 has a forced carry. And if it didn't have that forced carry, I think hole 17 is not as exciting, as challenging as we saw. So they've got a lot of good things going at Des Moines. Someone did ask me, like, do you ever think it could hold a major or world championship? I don't think so. I think they would have to change a whole lot for it. But I think the way it's set up right now, and we'll get to a little bit of some things I think they could do in the future, but the way it's set up right now, I think it's a fantastic spot on the tour.
Yeah. Do you think it's worthy of like maybe a DGPT Plus event?
I don't even know what those are. Like, I don't
Gotcha.
know what. I don't. If you would have told me, hey, Brodie, this is the last event was a DGPT GG, I'd be like, oh, okay. No one really knows.
The thing for me visually, I love, we talk a lot. We've talked a lot about this on debate night. You guys have talked a lot about it on Tour Life. The importance of being able to visually look at a course and know right away that it's good. Like the fact that I can look and see the OB stakes.
Love it.
I can see the differently trimmed grass that's like outside of it. It just makes it so visually appealing that it just feels like there's more prestige because it just looks better. It's well taken care of. They know where to put the mulch in the right places. They know where to, the stones and the wood around the island and using the hay bales on fire. It just was from top to bottom. It seemed like it was so well crafted. And you mentioned it that they took and made little tweaks. Like I noticed in the video that you guys had talked about, your practice round and then the other practice rounds that I watched, people kept saying, oh, they took out that one tree. They thought about opening up this line a little bit more. And it sounds like they're listening to players and they're making calculated changes that aren't too dramatic, but just enough that it makes it a better, more playable course without making it too easy for people.
And you would never know that it's in a park. Like there's softball fields right there. There's a playground. Like you would never know. They do a really good job. And I think this is also Disc Golf Network too, does a great job of like trying to hide that stuff, trying to hide that there's a road right there, trying to hide that there's a softball field right there. And you see this a lot in golf tournaments. Like if you watch a golf tournament and then show up to that course, you're like, what the heck? This is where the golf course is? Like,
yeah,
they do such a good job of hiding that to make you feel like you're in a place that's super secluded and super special. And I think that's kind of what they do at Pickard Park as well. So, well, let's just jump into it right away. We were hoping to have AB on here tonight, or hoping to interview him earlier today, but obviously that kind of fell through with the travel. So we'll definitely get him on here. And I mean, honestly, the trajectory that he's on, it won't be probably that long until he gets another win here. But he is now the first player to ever win. I thought this was an incredible stat from Statmando. First player to ever win his first, second, third, and fourth Disc Golf Pro Tour event in the same season. So it's like, wow. We were kind of talking about this in the past of like, as soon as AB figures out how to win, watch out, here comes the floodgates. And look what's happening. Like he got his first win early in the season and now he's gotten 4 and he racks up. He joins this very nice list of Barry Schultz, Ken Climo, Felberg, Paul McBeth, Eagle McMahon, Simon Lizotte, Ricky Wysocki. All those people have 4 or more wins in a year. And that's a pretty nice list of players to be connected to. And watching him play this past week, it is one of those that like you start thinking like how does he not win every event? Like it makes you wonder, like, because there was a moment where I was like, uh-oh, here we go. Hole 9, he had a birdie putt from 20 feet, clanks it. And you go, oh, wait a second. Uh-oh, here we go. And then he just kind of rights the ship and never looks back. And I think old AB, the one that we're used to seeing in the past, he lets that cause issues. And maybe he goes for a bigger shot on the next hole or whatever. It just seems like his game right now, the way he's playing, I would love, and this is where I would love to ask him, like, what happened at these other events where he wasn't placing that well. But it's just like when he's playing well, I don't think anyone can beat him.
Yeah, and just the way that I agree with you. There was almost a moment in the final round where I thought, "Oh, here comes the chink in the armor," and it's kind of one of the things that I watched the live, and I always go back and watch Joe Mez. I love the different opinions and different viewpoints that you get from the commentators. And one of the ones they talked a lot about was how he likes to really lean on his Luna so much. And there were a couple holes where it felt like he leaned on it a bit too much and overturned it into the woods. And I'm like, is he making the decision that's going to cause him to lose this? But then it's like, he still cashes the big putt that keeps him in the event. And you're right. It feels like when he is on his game that he can't be stopped. I mean, some of the stretches that he goes on. And I almost have to wonder, if you go back to last year, how much does a moment like the European Open severely change like the chemistry of the way he approaches in his brain some of these decisions? And was that a real reckoning for him to be like, I don't want that to ever happen again? And the mirror moment to that was, I remember at chess.com when he got to, that hole with the water, I think it was like 16 or 17. And he had that moment where he threw the shot short. And I was like, here comes that moment again for him, where he just gets right there to the finish and he can't seem to do it. And then he cashes the humongous putt. He clutches up on 18. And it's like, okay, this is a new Anthony Barella. So yeah, I won't be surprised if he gets a few more. It's hard to count him out on anything.
Yeah, and just watching him, like, this course, if you're playing well, you can absolutely annihilate it. We're looking at especially the way that the course was playing as far as the wind. You look at the top 10 here. There's a handful of bogeys here and there, but most of these guys are getting double digits birdies and maybe a bogey here and there. So. And too, the front 9 is really the 9 that you want to attack. You want to make sure that you get those holes. And he started 7 of 7. He got them all to start, which really kind of put him in a nice position. Adam really kind of got off to a rough start a little bit. And then Matteo, which we'll get into in a little bit, really got to a rough start. But watching his game, seeing that he can now control the disc, backhand, forehand, seeing that he's not really going for like the big shots and really trying to like, I'm going to try to really take a lot off this, instead of laying up to a spot that I know I can hit and have a 350-foot shot, let me try to push it to 300 or 250. Like, he's playing smart. He's making the smart decision. His putt looks incredible right now. I got to think he's got to be right now the front runner. Maybe Eagle too, depending on his health, but like one of the front runners for the European Open.
Yeah, I agree with you. A big thing where you can see those decisions coming into play is hole 4, where he didn't opt to go for the closest possible shot to the basket, and he played off to the left a bit more and put himself in a position where he had a good angle on his putt, and he was able to run the putt. And I mean, he cast that one from deep, and it felt like a boot on the neck of everyone else on the card, saying, "Come and get me, I'm unstoppable." So yeah, to me, he's my front runner for the European Open, and I'd love to see the redemption story.
And he's starting to look too like the part. I think with chess and like some of these other tournaments that he's been close to winning in the past, he never really got out of his shell when he played. Like, a lot of people always, when we had him on the podcast and he kind of opened up a little bit for the first time, people were like, holy cow, I've never seen that side of AB. We're starting to see emotion from him. We're starting to see him get excited. When he was walking up to hole 5 after he made that big putt, he's pumping his fist towards the crowd that are all chanting his name. Like, we're starting to see that he's starting to feel really comfortable in these positions. And that's scary for everyone else in the field.
Agreed.
Before the tournament started too, when we did a little like meet and greet signing thing, and all of Team Discraft, and the tournament from last year was actually on the TV there, and we're watching it. And he actually finished the tournament incredible last year. Like, he was flying with birdies and really making up a lot of pace there at the end. And so I turned around, I looked at him, I was like, bro, like, what happened last year? Why didn't you win last year? And he said, not enough holes. I ran out of holes. And so I think he knew this year, hey, I can't get off to a bad start. I have to right away get going. And, he shoots first round 7 under, 2 back from the lead. Second round, he has another great round, 12 under. The only round that was better than that was Adams' round, which was insane. The course record at 14 under. So he went out firing, and then obviously we talked about it already, 7 for 7. Like, he wanted to make sure that, hey, I don't want to run out of holes. I want to hold like my future, my destiny at the end of this back 9. I don't want to be like, crap, I need to push or whatever. So I don't know. I think he's learning. I think he's learning a lot from his past mistakes, what didn't work, and that's really cool to see.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, one of the things that stuck out to me, if you look at his card in the final round, he was 7 down through 7, and the rest of the card collectively was 8 down through 7 as a group, and that just set a statement. To start it off. It was really, really incredible to watch.
Yeah, that's nuts. Hole 16. How tight of an up? Like, he made that up shot on hole 16 look very easy. I've been over there. That was a very hard shot. And under that pressure at that moment right there, if he doesn't get up and down, there's a real issue of like Matty O kind of chasing him down. So saving that par was huge for him on 16. It seems like he's just making the right moves.
Yeah, especially with how difficult 17 and 18 have been playing for people, and seeing even some of the best players take doubles and triple bogeys on that. I wonder, we're seeing Gannon do these jump putts from position more and like long steppers. Anthony did it there. Like, that might be the play we see more and more people doing, is like, do I sharpen up my jump and stepper from 150 to just pure some of these gaps where I might be more comfortable with my spin putt than I would be trying to throw something backhand, because I have more control. I can see my release point. I can line it up better. I think that was a high IQ play on his part. Definitely risky, but high IQ.
Let's talk a little bit about some of the other like highlights that I saw that I kind of marked down here in the final round, and jump in if I missed anything. First one that jumped out at me was the big mental mistake that I saw from Adam on hole 11 with his upshot. It's a hill that's fading away, and he tries to throw this flex forehand that just gets away with him. It's kind of nose up and just flies way down the hill to like 45 feet. And I was like, oh my God, Adam, what are you doing? Like, you can't lose any more strokes than you've already lost. What are you doing? And then he just like casually walks up to it, cashes it in. And I'm like, all right, well, that's one way of kind of cleaning it up. And we saw that a lot from a lot of these guys, is on some of these holes that they maybe got a little bit loose with their up shots or their tee shots. Like, they were covering it up so nicely with their putts. Matty, Gannon. I mean, Gannon was putting lights out from everywhere. It seemed like he just couldn't miss. Unfortunately, until hole 18 where he did miss one, but
it's a dangerous thing, though, to play like that, because I think there are some players who feed off of that. When they throw a bad shot and they hit the putt, they tell themselves, I can do anything. But other players, they throw a bad shot, they hit the putt, and they go, well, I don't have to be as careful because I can do anything. And that gets them into trouble. And I think that's what kind of got Hammers into trouble, is that he threw that shot, he made the putt, and he kind of just seemed a little less focused from that point on. I mean, he got obviously the birdie, but 16 and 17 killed him. I think it changed. That right there was the paradigm shift for him in the round. That was the first time it looked like he didn't care about a shot that he threw.
Yeah, I think it also kind of started on hole 10. Like, hole 10's a must birdie hole. I mean, we'll talk about kind of some changes that I want to see with 10, just because I don't think it's a great hole the way it's currently set up. Because you could throw whatever you wanted really off the tee. As long as it was inbounds, you were probably going to make birdie there. And he took a par. He was the only one on his card that took a par there. And I think you're right. Like, right there on that back 9, he went par, had that loose up shot on 11, made the putt though to save par, took a par on 12, which should be like a standard zone forehand for him. And it looked like he kind of went a little fast and shot it out the back. And then, yeah, like you said, 16 was a bogey, and then 17, it was just like an absolute nightmare, like pinball back and forth there. But it was good to see his game back at where we saw like at Portland Open last year. The dude's got a lot of talent, got a lot of ability.
For sure.
And it seems like sometimes like we just don't see him. Like we just won't like, I hope that's not the case, but there's a chance that we just don't hear or talk about him for like another month, 2 months. And then he pops off. But the dude's got a lot of game. And he was honestly very close to winning this one. If he would have got off to a little bit better of a start and maybe a better finish, who knows? He only lost by 4 there at the end. Other things I saw, let's see here. Gannon final round. Interesting thing about this whole 17, Gannon ends up taking a double bogey after birding 14 of the previous 16 holes. Funny thing about that is the only tree I told Gannon that needs to go. The tree that he hit, it's a little angled tree that kind of as it like goes up, more of it goes into the fairway. And I'm like, I think that just should go because you're going to have some people miss it and some people hit it. And he's like, well, I like it there because it forces the flex line, which is the line I'm taking. Because he's right. It does definitely like creep in more if you're trying to hyzer flip through that gap versus like throwing a flex line. And it's the dang tree he hits. And I guarantee when he hit it, I guaranteed he was like, oh my God, I should have taken this tree out.
Yeah, so the course after dark with a handsaw.
Yeah. And then a very interesting play. I don't know if it translated well on camera, but that upshot on 17, if you get far enough out left, we're all throwing backhands. We're all throwing to the right, like maybe just a few feet to the right of the basket, something overstable, letting it fade and trying to make a 20-footer. Because there really is like 7 feet of inbounds to the right of that basket. It is super tight right of that basket. Now, if you're more towards the middle, you've got a tree that kind of covers you in the foreground, and in the background, you have another tree. So it really kind of forces you to throw like this flex line, this flex backhand. Or you can do what Gannon tried, which is the forehand, and you basically have to barely miss that tree. And then you got to hope that you don't skip because now you're going to the short side of the green. So very interesting. Gannon, who has a solid flex backhand, very interesting to see him go forehand on 17 there. Ends up clipping the tree, going straight OB. Was surprised about that. Not sure why he did that.
Yeah, I don't want to say anything silly like it's, that flex backhand that he hit off the first tree on the wood chip hole. Maybe that got into his mind, but I feel like at that level, it's probably not. I don't know. Maybe it's the frustration of the moment. And one of those things, again, we're like, hey, I've hit all these putts. I've made all these birdies. Like anything I do is unstoppable at the moment. And he just threw the shot that in the moment he felt the most comfortable with. But, don't know. Love to ask him about it.
Well designed hole, though. Again, hats off to Gannon for designing 17, 18. Very well designed. Now let's talk about Matty O here. Matty O. This guy, you guys will hear this on debate night because we filmed debate night before this, but this guy, he has to flip the switch. And we might have to have him come back on the podcast again because I've heard him talk about this before. There's no one better at getting a top 10 than him. He has said that he can go to a tournament and easily get top 10. He's like, I know how to play for top 10s. And he does. He's very good at it. I mean, looking at his season this year, as I pull it up here, let's see here. Chess.com, 6. Waco was a struggle. He took 45th. 9th at Austin. 4th at Texas State. 12th at Jonesboro. Music City, not sure what happened there, took 81st. 6th at Champions Cup. DDO 21st. OTB 26th. 3rd at Preserve. And 2nd at Des Moines. So a couple tournaments in there, a little dicey. But for the most part, he is a top 10 killer. And do you think he plays for top 10s? Like, do you think he's playing in a way to where like just looking at it, the dude parred the first 4 holes. Hole 1 is a birdie hole. Hole 2 is a birdie hole. Hole 3, you throw one decent shot, you have a birdie look at it. Hole 4, you throw a good shot, you have a birdie look at it. He takes pars on all of those. And at that point, AB's 4 for 4. He basically in his head's like, I have no chance of winning anymore. And then he proceeds to birdie out every hole except for 5. He birdies the last 4. You know, he beats AB by 4 shots on the last 4 holes.
Yeah. I mean, and especially with like he went bogey free for the whole event. Like he's such a clean player. And when I think about this course now, it lines up so well for his game. It matches so well.
Yeah.
You know, with some of the like, almost like air bouncy elevation shots and stuff you have to throw. But you're right. I mean, he hits hole 4 there, and does he say it's over? I was wondering, the biggest decision I was curious to see if he would do is, would he go for it on hole 4? Would he try to, because he has the power for it, he definitely has the accuracy for it, but no, he kind of put himself out there to the left and maybe playing the long game. But yeah, I said this on debate night. I feel like every tournament he is competitive in, he is just a few holes away from being the winner of that event, because I'm wondering if he's one of the best like chase card players ever, because he gets on these like momentous streaks, and I don't know what it is. Is he thinking about the score, or is he just, like you said, he's used to playing for position for so long now that it's hard to break through that mentality? He doesn't have to do that anymore. He's reached the pinnacle of the sport. He can go for the wins.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I would love to just kind of, see where he's at going into the rest of the season, because he is someone that is just he's gotten so close so many times. He finally did it at MVP. And now it's like, man, like what needs to happen again? Because the MVP, I don't want that to be like, oh, that was just an anomaly. Like he was on 3rd card or something, and so far out of it, he probably didn't think he had any chance to win. The guys on lead card kind of all had a lackluster final round, and he chased them all down and won. Like I want to see him seeing Matty O as a front runner. Like everyone listening right now, we all want to see that. We all want to see him with a 1-shot lead with 3 to play.
Yeah, he's probably arguably one of the most likable players on tour for most people, and he's a pleasure to watch on screen every time. So it's like, very few people am I rooting for the win more. I always said, like, I've got my favorite players, but if so-and-so is in the hunt, I'm always rooting for them. And Matty O is one of those guys. So it's just like, I want him to win more, but you have to start to question if it's that mentality thing down the stretch.
Yeah. Final thing on Gannon Buhr, defending champion, comes up a few strokes short in the final round, but makes a valiant effort. Shoots 12 under with a double bogey on hole 17, also missing a pretty makeable putt for him. Yeah, it was in the woods a little bit on 18, but still pretty makeable. But valiant effort, shooting 12 under the final round. His game, I mean, talk about someone that's Mr. Consistent. He's been Mr. Consistent all season. I don't think there's been anyone more consistent than him. And, every tournament, it's kind of like the same thing that we were talking about Calvin a little bit last year. It's like, it doesn't matter what event he goes to. It doesn't matter what the course is asking. His game travels everywhere. He's probably the best putter, if not one of the top 3 putters on tour. And very excited to kind of see what he does at the upcoming major in European Open.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's a mentality thing. I forget what interview he was doing earlier this year where he talked about how he's kind of changed the way he's thought about his opening round. He used to, if he didn't score the best, he used to have like a freak out moment, and then he wouldn't stay with it. But now he's starting to understand, I don't have to be in the lead after round 1. I can be 3 or 4 or 5 strokes back, and I can get there. Because he just kind of goes on these tears. And so as he's learning that confidence, when that confidence is meeting his skill level, and I think it's really easy to look at Gannon and some of the things that he does, some of the crazy things, and go, yeah, it's just a young kid who's on tour. He has some very defining, mature moments that people often miss. Like here, the helping the design of the final holes. That's something you wouldn't expect out of him. But as this maturity grows, if he kind of leans into it and he just keeps surrounding himself with that championship mentality, everyone else best be quick in their boots, because it's amazing what we're watching happen.
Yeah. A couple other great finishes here. Jake Mon, who's just recently come back from a broken thumb on his throwing hand, shoots 12 under the final round to jump up 11 spots to get into the top 5. So very impressive round there by Jake Mon. Great tournament. Jake Hemenheimer, another guy that just absolutely crushes the disc, shoots 11 under the final round to finish in 6th place. And then you've got Calvin, Jaden Rye, and Austin Turner with Evan Smith, all finishing tied for 7th. Outside of the top 10, Gavin Rathbun continuing to have an incredible season, finishing 13th here, having a really good season. Let's see, Kevin Kiefer with a nice finish. Not a great final round, shoots 4 under the final round, but still great tournament there, finishing 13th for Kevin Kiefer. Let's see here. Isaac Robinson back in the picture at 15th. Good to see. Gavin Babcock also having a very sneaky season so far. Finished another top 20 for him. And then Simon Lizotte, after shooting, what did he shoot the first round? Like +3? Is that right? Was it plus or even? He shot even par. Even par. He had 4 birdies, 2 bogeys, and a double. Comes out blazing the next 2 rounds to have a pretty respectable top 21 finish, shooting 17 under between those last 2 rounds. So pretty good there. Chris Clemens actually having a good finish. Good to see from him. He's been kind of struggling all year, so he had a good finish there. Let's see, any notable names that kind of dropped off. That's a little bit surprising.
One for me that I think had a lot of pressure on him for this event and is getting more pressure is Alden Harris, tied for 91st. I feel like he's got all the skills he needs to finish well, and the clock is ticking on his ability to crack this top 32. And he even kind of put it out there on Instagram, like he's ready to start fresh and get this thing going. And he's another guy that I always love to root for, but it hard to see him, +3, +2, and -3. Those rounds just aren't going to do it.
A little surprising with Aaron Gossage. I feel like this course suits his game pretty well. He finished in 45th. Let's see here. What else we got? Yuli finished in 52nd. I know he wasn't too thrilled with that.
Yeah, Ezra Robinson.
Yeah, Ezra Robinson.
85th. He's
pretty far down the leaderboard as well. Cole Radalin shooting +1 the final day. Two doubles, 3 bogeys, kind of just sporadic there the final round. Let's see here.
I was super excited for Colton Montgomery after the first round to see him up there, and then he kind of just round 2 was not friendly to him, and round 3 was even less friendly to him.
Yeah, kind of a bummer from him. Same thing with Garrett Everson. My buddy Jeeves had a great first round, shooting 5 under in really tough conditions because it was very windy and gusty round 1. And then, the 2 scoreable days, round 2 and round 3, shoots 1 under and then +1. So it was kind of a weird tournament because the hardest round was the first round by far. And then it got progressively easier and easier throughout. And so there were some guys that just couldn't hold on or couldn't really score that well. But yeah, I mean, interesting tournament. Definitely interesting tournament on the MPO side. Probably too many players. We had 2 DNFs. Greg Barsby DNF'd after 4 holes on the final round, and Max Anderson DNF'd. I don't even know when he DNF'd. Did he even play? He played round 1. He DNF'd after 5 holes in round 1. So 2 DNFs there. But anything else on the MPO side before we go over to FPO?
No, I think that covers everything. It was a great event to watch. Real quick though, how's it coming back from you being out for a little bit? I remember this was your top finish last year, right? At 10th place. Obviously the 3rd round was canceled because of the weather and stuff. But what was it like to get back out there and compete again?
Yeah, I've been kind of sporadically, I would say, would be the best way of describing my practice regimen. Like I kind of putt here and there when I take the boys outside. I practiced maybe a couple times a week. So I wasn't going into this tournament with really too much anticipation or too much expectations on my finish. I started pretty poorly the first round, didn't really play that well in tough conditions, and then round two, I actually played somewhat decent in round two. If you take out a couple holes,
Mhm.
I got the dreaded triple bogey on hole 5 there. I went OB, went up to the drop zone. It hit the OB stake,
Mm.
and you can't advance to the green unless you cross for the drop zone on that hole. And so I had to throw again from back there and took the dreaded triple, and then I took a double on 12, really bad double on 12, and then took a really bad double on 17. But I got a decent amount of birdies there. 6 birdies is not terrible.
Mhm.
And then the final round, I kind of started putting it together. I really wanted to put like a really good final round together. Unfortunately, I took a bad bogey on 9. I bogeyed 9 all 3 rounds, and that's a birdie hole.
Mm.
So kind of gave up 6 shots or 5 shots, however you want to look at it there on hole 9. And then wasn't able to birdie anything coming in on that final round to shoot 7 under. So a
Yeah.
little disappointing finish, but yeah, I think right now I've got all the tools. My distance is kind of down, so I definitely need to probably lose some weight, get back into the gym, start throwing again hard to get the distance back. Because that's one thing I did notice on the backhand side, especially my distance isn't where it used to be. But yeah, I mean, I I felt I felt something. I think I'm going through this weird wave of where initially I wanted to like prove to myself when I first got on tour that I could be competitive. And then I got like a bunch of like the haters and all the people basically saying you're not going to be good, yada yada. And then that was kind of
Mhm.
my motivation to then like try to push and try to win or try to have good finishes. And then once that kind of died out, like I was just kind of in like limbo of like, why am I, what am I doing
Mhm.
this for? Like, what's the point? And I think I'm starting to find the purpose a little bit about like, no, I do kind of like playing disc golf. I do kind of like the
Mhm.
competition. I don't need to prove them wrong. I don't need to prove myself like, hey, this is where you get your worth is like how you play on the disc golf course. And I think you can start kind of seeing that from my play where I'm not really getting super frustrated. I'm actually just having a good time out there. And
Mhm.
so now if I can start putting that into the practice, uh, who knows? Maybe I can go out there and actually have a good finish.
That's great. I mean, disc golf is a sport that meets you where you are, and it you got to find that love again. And one of the best things is with outlets like this, there's so much you can do for the game outside of just the course to be able to push ideas, ask questions, challenge things that have been thoughts for a long time. And that's also something I've always appreciated about you is that you're willing to say the thing that has to be said to prompt discussion. So it's great. I enjoy seeing you play. It's great to see you back out there. You look like you're having a blast on your
Yeah.
practice round with the guys, and so lots of fun. So I wanted to ask you how you enjoyed it. So
Yeah, no, I had a great time. I mean, I'm very happy that that was the tournament that I kind of came back to. And it's definitely just something that I'm like working through this year of just
mm,
like, where's the motivation? Where is like um, the drive to continue to push myself? Because in the
mhm,
past in Ultimate, it was so easy because I wanted to be the absolute best, but I also had my teammates around me, and I didn't want to let my teammates down.
mhm,
So like the mornings that I didn't want to go to the track or the nights that I didn't want to go to the gym, I always had those 20, 21 guys that I was like, I can't let these guys down. With disc golf and later in my career with where I'm at now, there's definitely different motivations. And so like I'm
mhm,
trying to find that out of where it's like, what is driving me to go out and practice 4, 5, 6 hours in a day, right?
mhm.
So that's all I'm trying to do. So we'll see what ends up happening. Um, all right. Let's see. Let's go into FPO here. FPO. What was your biggest takeaway, I guess? We'll start there. What was your biggest takeaway from the FPO tournament?
One of the things I noticed a lot was that what won the day, it felt like, was safe disc golf. Keeping the disc in bounds was such an important part of this event. And I don't mean to steal the point that you brought up on debate night, but I couldn't agree with you more, is that this course didn't feel like it was a very difficult course for the FPO field. And it felt like just being really smart was going to be enough. And also own really incredible second round, but it felt like the putt, is the putt the thing that really props up Own on these late runs? And is it going to be enough when we bring the full field back together? I can't wait till the FPO field is back together, because we're seeing people rise up on both ends. But yeah, the biggest one for me is probably the strength of this course didn't seem like it was really challenging the FPO in the same way that it could have been super challenging for the MPO.
Yeah, I think what Emily was able to do, I think, is very impressive. I think the final round that she had, shooting her best round of the tournament at 8 under, birding the final 2 holes, which hole 18 for them, not super challenging. Hole 17 is a challenging hole for them. I thought that was impressive. 2 big putts, 17 outside the circle, 18 right on the edge of circle, just inside. So that was impressive. But the vibes that I got from this tournament were very similar to FPO a couple years ago, where it's like whoever didn't make mistakes and play bad won. It wasn't like anyone really outside of Emily. And again, she had, the start of her round wasn't great. She was 1 under through 6. But outside of her, it really was like people throwing shots OB, like just shanks OB, missed putts from 15 feet. We were really just seeing a lot of like really sloppy play. And I don't know what that is, and it wasn't like it was a bunch of new people that were like, I don't know what to do in this situation. I've never been here. I'm super nervous. I mean, it was Natalie Ryan, Owen Scoggins, Holland Hanley, all making some like big mistakes down the stretch. And like watching it, that's what like I kind of got, was like, whoever just doesn't make a mistake, they don't even have to really do that much. Like, just don't make a mistake.
Yeah. Especially with the win. I mean, right off the very first throw, the first tee, Natalie throws out of bounds, and very quickly off the second tee pad.
Like, what are you doing? Yeah. Like, you literally, do you know how short that hole is for FPO?
It seems pretty short.
Like it's like a 300-foot shot and then like a 200-foot shot.
Yeah, 5
That's all. That's all you need to do.
Yep. Yeah, and then on hole 2, you have Eliezer just sending one out of bounds, turning it over, not seeming to, really watch what the rest of the card mates are doing.
Yeah, it was surprising to kind of see, and I have no idea. I mean, that was probably one of the worst rounds I've ever seen Own play. I don't know what ended up happening. The par 5, hole 10, she was in a decent position for her, I believe it was her second or third shot. I can't remember exactly which one it was. And she just she literally misses her line by 100 feet right and goes OB. Just a dead shank. And then several putts she missed inside the circle, where I was just like airballing from 15 feet. And something was going on, because she was clearly shocked. She couldn't believe what she was seeing. I mean, she started on hole 1, missing a putt that she normally makes on hole 1.
Yeah. It was because she was the only person on the card who wasn't wearing headphones.
Okay. Yeah, we'll get into the headphones here in a second for sure, because that is definitely an interesting topic. I actually do bring that up with Emily to get her take on the headphone situation. But a couple other storylines, like if hole 17 doesn't exist, Holland wins this tournament. Holland just could not figure. She ended up, I think, parring it the final day. But round 1, she triples it, comes back round 2, triples it again. She loses 6 shots to the field on one hole. So
it looks like that proved to be the hardest hole for them across the board. So I guess part of it is that second shot.
Just the forced carry, yeah, forced carry for sure. So yeah, that hole kind of struggled. Owen struggled with her putting the final round.
below 70%.
Was what her putting was?
Owens, yeah, in the final round, I believe.
Oh man. I would have loved to have seen her make that putt on 16 because that would have made she would have been at that point she would have been 16 under and Emily would have been was playing 18 at 17 under. So that would have made it a little bit more interesting if she would have made it. It didn't matter at the looking back on it now. Natalie was like the only one too. Like it was very weird final card. It seemed like Natalie was like the only one that was somewhat having a decent round. But 5 under through 12 is not great. And then they proceeded to bogey 13 and 14, which kind of just blew up their round.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. The other thing that I have on here that was like one of the highlights was the call.
Oh my word.
The call from Ian.
Oh my word. I made two notes when I was watching the recap, is that the number of times they kept referring to Emily as the rookie of the year, and then just that call from Ian. Oh boy.
So for those that didn't watch FPO, Emily has a birdie putt on hole 18. Natalie has yet to tee off on hole 18. If Emily makes the putt, she will have a 2-shot lead over Natalie, thus Natalie having to throw in the second shot to tie, right? A little James Conrad-esque. And hole 18 is not very long. Like if you throw like a decent drive, you'll have like a 250, 300 foot shot, maybe or less than 300 feet. So it definitely is like somewhat of a doable, like, hey, I can see the basket. Let me go for it. And the thing with Ian and some of these other commentators is they sound like they just are so eager to get like a sound bite, to get the clip of saying like, oh, it's oh, because we've heard this before. Like on hole 14 in a tournament, someone will miss a putt and be like, oh, it's over. Tournament's over. And it's like, as a commentator, you want to do everything as you possibly can. I mean, I've watched football games where it's like 42-0. And the commentators are trying to grasp at straws of like, how do we make it sound like this game is not over yet? Because we want people to continue to watch. And he just straight up claimed the 2024 Des Moines champion, Emily Weathermen. As the putt goes in, I'm like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
He sounded so proud of himself when he said it too. Like that in his mind, he was like,
he was waiting for it. Yeah. Other thing is real quick, not to like harp too much on the commentary, because we do go after the commentary quite a bit. Guys, what happened? What happened to having the person on the ground do the calling? Like I made a claim. Someone tweeted me saying like, hey, it's so awesome to see like Brian Earhart or Nate Perkins doing like the calls on the ground, because they actually can see the shots. They can actually see what the player has to do. And I made a tweet being like, thank God they're finally doing this. And JVD, who's like the producer, or one of the producers, I guess, or one of the people behind the scenes over there, is like, what are you talking about? We've been doing this forever. And I'm like, no, you haven't. And then the next tournament, you don't do it at all.
Yeah.
Where's Brian Earhart? Brian Earhart's at the ice cream food truck by HQ all tournament. He's not even on the ground.
Yeah, the best things we've seen this year is when they've been able to have two people on the ground, one like following chase, one following lead, and we get these moments where they can just, I mean, you throw it to, I agree wholeheartedly. When you throw it to one of them and they can give you the feeling in the moment off the tee pad, they can see both the shot going, they can see the body language of the player who just threw the shot. It can give us so much more of a fuller picture of what's going on, and just it seems like it was going in a positive direction, and then just missing the mark here.
He needs to do every call, like every call. It's not good for the people in the booth to try to make the call. He's on the ground. He can see as soon as it comes out of their hand what that looks like. The other thing I gotta say too, at a certain point in time, and I'll go back to my Subway days. All right. I worked at Subway. It was the third largest Subway in the world. University of Florida, shout out, go Gators. Third largest subway in the world. We would do over 200 we had two different stations. So like when you go to your normal subway, they've got like the one meat, the veggie, and the cashier. We had that on one side, and then we had another one on another side. So we were doing two lines. So around lunchtime, each line was doing 200 plus sandwiches an hour. I mean, we're cranking these sandwiches out, right? You're having to do over 3 sandwiches a minute, basically, for a full hour. When I first got there, I was in over my head. I had no idea what I was doing. I was freaking out. I was making mistakes. It was not like you really want to work as a team. I wasn't being able to fit in well. But over a course of a week, over a course of a month, over a course of 2 months, I figured it out. And I got much better, and I got much better, and I got much better. At a certain point, if no one's getting better, you got to cut it. And that's the thing is like, how long, I mean, maybe they don't have anyone else. I don't know. But right now, like the one thing that takes me away from the commentary that's live is like, I focus on the awkwardness. I focus on the weird, like, oh, that was a weird transition. Like that wasn't smooth. And like, I want the commentary to like bring me in and not kind of bring me out to be like, whoa, what the heck? And like, now all of a sudden, I don't know. A lot of times it doesn't do it for me. I'll say that. It just doesn't do it for me.
Yeah, they throw it to them in some of the most awkward scenarios. And especially when the person's not in position.
Yes.
Like, oh, well, I guess we can't get them this time. Well, I'll just go back to explaining to you why this shot, and then you don't know where it's at. Why is that a good position?
The moment's killed.
Yep.
The moment's killed.
Yeah. Because it's part of live commentary is like you have fleeting moments to make something special. And sometimes it's better to not say anything at all than it is to force something in there that doesn't make any sense and doesn't sound good. I think that silence on a broadcast can be so powerful compared to feeling the need to talk every time. And I won't lie. I think there's some redeemable qualities. Like, you know, one of the things that I'll always give Ian at least a little bit of credit for is he's good at like the transitions of like so-and-so on this hole, this putt. You know, like keeping those moments as we bounce around for things, but like the feeling of needing to fill every open space with words,
too much talking.
Doesn't have to happen.
It's way too much. It's way too much talking. And then the other thing too is it's like, I don't want to give advice, but literally you have the PGA Tour that has people been doing this for years that are very, very good at it. Mm-hmm. All you have to do is literally watch one PGA Tour event and see how they work together as a team, because they have different commentators on multiple holes, and they got people on the ground, they got people in the booth, they got everything. And it's like, they all know when to talk, when to chime in. And I don't like, Gary, if you're on the ground, I don't want to be like, Gary, what do you see down there? What's going on? Are they in bounds, Gary? Like, I want to like not say anything, and you just say what you see, and then I can add on to that. Like the whole, like, it's almost like an interview of where like they're interviewing Brian Earhart, and it's just really, really weird. I don't like
it needs to be reversed. If it's reversed, it plays a lot better, because I can explain, if I'm on the ground, what happened on the shot. I can explain, you know, the body language or the feel from the tee pad. And then as it cuts back to the booth, they can go, oh, look where that disc is at. Let's paint a picture of why that location is good, why that location is bad. And it makes it.
Or they can give stats, or they can be the stats guy and give like stats, like so far, like, because that's the other thing that we don't really hear that often. Like AB so far has not had, like, I didn't hear anything about his circle one in regulation throughout that entire round. And that would have been a great stat to throw in. Like Brian discusses the drive. He's in a great spot to attack the green. And then boom. So far, AB hasn't missed one inside a circle in regulation. He's been 78% for the season. He's one of the top guys. Like, I don't know. To me, it's like there's a formula out there. There's a blueprint out there. And it almost feels like disc golf is like throwing up a middle finger to us as the paying viewers and the fans, being like, we don't want to get better. We're disc golf. We're doing it differently. Yeah. It's like, yeah, you're doing it differently, but you're doing it worse. And that's why a lot of people don't watch live.
Yeah, it's a product. If you want more sponsorships, you got to get more eyes on coverage. And if you want more eyes on coverage, you got to improve the quality of the product. And I think when enough people are saying it, and plenty of people are, why are changing? I want to know what contract is in place to keep these same people coming back for commentary.
I don't know. They gotta. I think Eisenhood is solid. I think they gotta pay Nate Sexton. I think he's great. Pay Ken Climo. He's great. I don't know. They gotta find a way of doing it. They got to find a way of doing it. So we'll see. All right. Enough with the commentary. You guys can have at it in the chat. I'm sure we'll see plenty of comments after that. So let's throw down a couple other finishes or a couple other shout outs here. Ellie Ezra. It wasn't that long ago that I was like pretty much downplaying her and just like not really that impressed, being like, yeah, she did great that one tournament, but we haven't really seen that much. I gotta say, as soon as she figures out that she doesn't need to throw 110% every shot, and she can start working, like right now, she reminds me a lot of AB, where she's just throwing hard. She's just throwing hard on holes that make no sense. Like you don't need to throw hard. Like you don't have to throw the most overstable disc as hard as possibly on those holes. She's got a lot of game though. Her forehand needs some work. It is still a little hit or miss. But her putt looked pretty good. She looked like she was prime and ready for the moment, and a promising prospect, if you will, in the future here.
Yeah, and another person to add to the group of like these up and comers that are young and it seems like hungry to break into this sport. And future battle. Like it's not going to be the last time we see the top two here competing against each other on a card for first place in the future.
Yeah, I hope not. We discussed Own played, like if Own plays okay, maybe even like a little bit better than okay, she wins this tournament. You know, she lost by 4. She shoots 1 over par. She shoots 14 under, 1 over par final round. I mean, she plays okay. Holland also kind of disappointing final round there. Have yet to see, you know, after Holland takes down that first win, she's put herself in positions a couple times now without Kristin in the field, without Evelina in the field, without Henna in the field, a couple times to and without Silva too. We got to throw Silva in there too now, and she hasn't been able to kind of do it again. So I'm wondering, like, is that starting to like add up in her head of where here's another tournament that I just kind of let slip through my grasp?
Yeah.
Maybe. Missy Gannon was putting on a nice charge there. Took a triple on 17, but put on a nice charge. Other than triple, shooting 5 under in the final round to move up a little bit. Haley King in the top 10 with Kat Merch, Lisa Fakis, and Hannah as well. That is pretty much all I got for FPO. There was a lot of people in FPO, and I'm gonna throw my first hot take out. I think we have too many people in the field here. I think we have too many people in the field. And I'm just gonna say pace of play was atrocious at this tournament. I believe me, Aaron, Tristan, and Goose all did our practice round. We're filming, we're throwing extra shots, we're talking to the camera, we're having a good time. I want to say we played the entire round. I think they ended up finishing it without me, but they probably finished the entire round in 2.5 hours. Our rounds were slow as molasses. Like this course should be a course that you fly through, and our rounds were super slow. And this is one of those things. Like, I don't think the final round the MPO didn't catch FPO, which happens sometimes at a lot of these tournaments. MPO ends up catching, like I've caught FPO, I think at what was it? Chess.com, I think. I caught FPO on like hole 14. And so literally now MPO is going to get backed up because of that for the rest of the day. But you know, we have some people in the field here that are 20 plus over par on the FPO field. We have some people in the MPO field that are, let's see here. We had someone that was 41 over par, 39 over par, 31, 29, 24, 24, 20. We got to have a cut. We either need to make the field smaller, or we got to have a cut. Um, we it's just too slow, man. It's just too slow.
Yeah.
And if you're throwing 30 over par, play faster, please, for the love of God.
Yeah, it makes all the sense in the world to make the cut there. Just make that final day such a more improved. Let the people who aren't in there, let them get on the road and move to the next place, and let's make a more smooth final round with the group who's still there.
Yeah. Pace of plays is always going to be an issue, and that's honestly it's going to be a massive issue in the growth of disc golf. It is.
Mm-hmm.
You got to make a product that's faster, snappier than everything than what we currently have. All right, I want to roll through some course notes. So here are some things that I think this course could do to get even better moving forward, because I think it's one of those courses that is set up beautifully right now. I love it. And it's a few things here and there could make it a lot better. First thing I gotta say, massive shout out to the guy that made the 9th hole staircase. I know this might sound crazy, but no one liked walking up that hill on the 9th hole. And a guy, I guess like one guy by himself made this staircase. It took him like 2 weeks. Incredible marksmanship. Craftsmanship. Incredible maybe he is a great marksman too, who knows. Yeah. But incredible craftsmanship on this staircase. Very nice. All right, so the first thing I want to talk about is how to make 17 and 18 tougher but fair. Okay, tougher but fair. So the first thing that I would do on hole 17, get away with that stupid drop zone. Get away with it. The drop zone's dumb. I don't think par 4s should have drop zones. I'll say that again. Par 4s should not have drop zones ever. Makes no sense. Let's go bunker rule on hole 17.
Yeah.
Bunker rule on hole 17 would be absolutely electric, because if you are in a good position to attack the green, you go OB. What are you doing now? You're not super penalized with a stroke and a throw. You just have to rethrow. But now you question, like, okay, should I just jump putt 30 feet to get closer, or should I go forward again? I think the bunker rule also, to be fair, they also had 2 drop zones, Gary. So if you couldn't throw on the green from 180 feet, they made sure to give you another drop zone. And here's my whole thing is people are like, pace of play. That's why you have drop zones, pace of play. What is faster, Gary? What is faster? Okay. I throw OB and I'm like, crap, I need to rethrow from right here. I get the right disc. I rethrow. I make it on the island. Is that faster than me going, oh, crap, I threw OB, walking 200 feet in the opposite direction, getting to a new spot, throwing that shot, and then walking back up to the green? Which one is faster?
Oh, obviously option A, especially with like the hole only being 603 feet. Because realistically, if you're getting out that gap, I mean, how much did you even have left on that second shot?
It was depending on where you are, but less than 300 feet for the most part.
Yeah, I don't think you can. You're pros on the Pro Tour.
Yes.
You gotta give the challenger. You're gonna hit it more often than not. I think that having like copious amounts of drop zones are great for amateur events where you know people can just empty their bags on a hole and it saves time. But like, this is the Pro Tour. Trust the pros to make the shot. And guess what? If they don't, it's gonna be electric. Yeah. So just drop the drop zones.
Yeah. And there's some holes too that like don't have drop zones and players make big numbers on. So don't say it's for pace of play when we have certain holes where like I could have sat on hole 5 for 10 minutes, just kept throwing it in the water. Like you didn't have a drop zone on that hole. So stop making these other holes easier. So that's the first thing on hole 17 that I would do. The other thing on hole 17 that I would do, double Mando. Now, the reason for this is, and honestly, this is a hot take. Some people are going to hate it because they hate Mandos in the trees, but hear me out. We all know what gap we're trying to throw through. To make it completely fair, if you miss that gap you're trying to throw through, you don't get rewarded. If you make the gap you're trying to throw through, you get rewarded. What we have right now is we have a coin flip. Some people miss the gap inside. They hit a tree, they drop down. Other people miss the gap inside. They don't hit anything. They get all the way through and they're in a perfect spot. Those two people threw bad shots. One got rewarded, one didn't. If you go double Mando, anyone that misses the gap that they're trying to aim for gets punished. I think that makes it super fair.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of doing it, especially when you kind of pair it up to one of the things that I like on courses is when you aren't asked to throw the same types of shots hole after hole after hole. And I think on 17, it makes a lot of sense there because it's not a similar shot too close to what you've done recently. So having the double Mando there kind of forces a particular angle and shot shape out of you. And yeah, I don't like going to courses and seeing a really poor shot end up with an amazing result.
Right.
And then I miss my line by an inch and I'm in the worst place ever. It's just, yeah, when you can miss by 10 feet and be in a better place than missing by an inch, there's a problem.
And hole 18, the best shot on hole 18 was sawing your shot off and missing all the trees on the inside because you wanted to be as far left as possible.
Yep.
So I did that twice out of the 3 rounds. I sawed off my shot and I was like, oh crap. And then it went through and it was in the perfect spot both days. Yeah. And so like, that's another one. Double Mando hole 18, force people to all have to go out the same gap. And if you don't, sayonara, sucker. The other thing that I'd like to see on 18, I would like to see a forced carry there. I would like to see somewhere in the middle of the fairway, all OB. So if you are out of position, you can't just like blast a shot up into that big, huge area. You still have to place it. And then you have to decide whether or not you're in a good enough spot to clear. So I would go from like C2 all the way to probably like 50 to 60 feet outside the gap. All of that's OB. And then I would make the right side hazard by the green, because what people were doing is like, I'm just going to turn over this disc and make sure I don't fade out left OB. Yep. And people were just being okay with just slamming it into those trees. Yep. And that shot gets really, really dicey when you know that that's a hazard over there and you're going to get a stroke if you go over there.
Well, and it also protects you from more luck as well, because some of those shots go into those trees and they go in. Other shots, like you look at Gannon's shot, he hit the trees, but for some reason it just plinkoed out to where he still had a putt. You know, not everyone's going to get that same luck. So yeah, I agree. I think making the greens harder, especially down the stretch. I think this is one of my most favorite courses down the stretch on the Pro Tour that we've seen. But I agree, some small tweaks can make it even better.
Brian H says Mandos are for putt. So Brian, let me explain something to you. There wouldn't be Mandos if disc golf actually had money. And let me explain why. Instead of putting Mandos up on hole 17, 18, like I just discussed, what I would do is I would plant 100 trees. I would plant 100 trees. So that way there's no physical way a disc could actually travel through these like gaps that no one's aiming for. Bad shots don't get lucky. They hit the trees. And now you can't even scramble out there. You have to still go out the gap that everyone has to go through. So Mandos only exist in disc golf because we don't have money. That's why. That's why. So that answers your question. The other thing I said, Gary, another hot take I have, just if we want free advertising, just put huge billboards that connect all the trees. So like instead of like having those gaps in between those little trees, you just have big billboards for advertisements. So people just slam into the plywood and they can't get lucky through those gaps. So
there you go. And if they hit one of them, they get, hey, they hit the 5% off at this, you know?
Yeah, exactly. A couple of other things here. I think this course could really use some air, and this is going to be tougher, obviously, but again, idealistic world. I think this course could use some greens cut down super thin. There was a lot of greens that I really didn't see the touch of upshots. I just saw people blasting shots, and the grass is so thick that it didn't really matter if the disc was coming down soft or coming in hot. It was just catching. And I had a shot actually on hole 8 that I threw, and I sawed it off, and I was like, that's out of bounds. And it hit like 4 feet from OB, but because of how thick the grass was, it didn't skip. It just caught. And had that grass been actually, thinned out, and now I'm actually getting punished, right? Because now the disc is skipping. And that's why sometimes when we play on these golf courses, it really makes some of these shots really difficult because you get big skips. And so you can't throw fast stuff into these greens because it's going to skip. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, and I think it's a good way of looking at cost-effective ways to make courses more difficult without having to do a lot of advanced or crazy things. Because if you just go in there and you buzz that grass shorter, it's not gonna require a lot more from the course maintenance, but it's going to dramatically change the way that hole plays. I mean, imagine long grass. I mean, 11 the grass on 11 seemed a little bit sticky, but imagine that grass gets super long and it just takes all the teeth out of that approach shot.
Yep.
And makes it's not interesting to watch anymore. So yeah, I think grass length is definitely one way of adding some extra something to greens to make people think more. I'm a big proponent of making people think about their shots.
Yes.
And think about the angle that the disc has to land, and just decisions. The more cerebral we can make the game, where it's a meeting of the mind and the muscle, it just creates a much more enjoyable experience. And that's just how I like.
And there's more variables. More variables. So you're going to see crazier stuff. Mike makes a good point. He says, but longer grass also stops skipping into a spot. So perfect example of this. If you guys remember hole number 13. So hole number 14. So we've played the double Mando little shot par 3 with the rock bed. Then we go to hole 13, and you've got like that blind shot on the elevated basket around the corner. And then we go to hole 14, where you throw that tee shot, and then you gotta go over the bridge. A lot of people were throwing the spike hyzer into that green. If you're going straight, how I would set that hole up is I would keep everything outside of C2 tall grass. So that way, if you throw low, you're not going to get lucky and have your disc skip up into the green. You just get caught. But if you throw with too much speed by the basket, then it's going to skip off. Like, that is something that I think, Brian, that would be really cool to see, is like certain areas, make it super tall. So people don't that's why I like OB tall grass. Because I don't want to see someone get lucky and skip OB back in bounds. You throw OB, your disc isn't coming back. It's gone. And then certain areas you can start going tighter grass to get the skip. So you can get really creative too. Like, again, it's going to cost money and time and all that stuff. And that's probably why we're not seeing it. But I think it would make courses a lot more interesting to watch. Yeah. And then this is the last take I have on the course notes. I think this course needs new basket locations and new tee box locations based off the weather. Round 1, this course played perfect. It was windy. It was challenging. You don't need to do anything differently. Course played tough. No one shot close to double digits. We saw great score separation from holes to holes. But then round 2 and round 3, the wind was gone. It died. And what happened? The score separation got a lot tighter. A lot more birdies or pars. The bogeys kind of vanished. So this could be, hole 2, round 2 comes around. You look at the weather. Oh, crap. Like, there's no wind. Okay, let's play the long tee pad on hole 1. Let's move it back 60 feet on hole 1. Because, like, guys, when there's no wind on hole 1, they're throwing overstable stock hyzer, bink, to 300 feet, bink, easy. But now you move that back 50 feet, 60 feet. Now people are going to get a little more aggressive. So that's where I think, based on the weather, that course would be great if they could change, especially like, think about hole 4. That basket location sucks into a 20-mile-an-hour headwind.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right? That hole sucks in a 20-mile-an-hour headwind. So if it's going to be a 20-mile-an-hour headwind, wouldn't that hole be a lot cooler if we were able to play to like the FPO basket, for example?
Yeah, there's another good hole like that. I think sometimes you can even almost shorten a hole and put it in a position where someone would have to lay up if they wanted like a par on a par five. Uh, so you put the basket there. So it's like if you lay up, if you're going there, you're getting a par and a par four. Or if you push that second shot a little bit more, it puts you in a position to get a really, really cool birdie. I forget what hole it is. Like if you took that par five,
hole 10's the par five.
Yeah, and you brought that basket just like up across that creek, but kind of, with the I know OB behind a basket, like we have some issues with that. But like if you brought that up and shortened it to where like layups for par on the 5 would be, it would create like a weird, you have to think about your shot. Do I get more aggressive? If I'm playing for birdie and I'm landing short of that, do I have to get more aggressive to get the birdie on the par 4 now? And then for people who are laying up, do I have to get less aggressive? It's just, it creates a different setup. And I think it makes pros make more decisions because it requires.
We're not playing the same hole over and over and over again. Yeah, exactly.
Love to see more of that.
All right, big shout out to this guy, the Swamp Monster. This guy, I hope everything is fine because I did not see him the final day. So hopefully he didn't contract anything in this lake. But he was out there both rounds, round 1 and round 2. He saved 2 of my discs. Round 2, I threw 2 in the drink. So shout out to him. But yeah, that was awesome. Love to see guys getting dirty and getting discs for us.
Yeah, I think on the when we hit ESPN's top 10 with the hole-in-one, they finished the commentary by saying, "Oh, that water looks lovely," or "That water looks really refreshing."
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Also got to give a shout out to my guy, Donovan Stein. Donovan Stein decided to start his tournament with a 14. Yes, that's right. 14, 10 over par. And you might think, holy crap, what the heck? He birdied the next hole, folks. And let me tell you right now, that the second hole on the first round, with the way the wind was playing, was like kind of challenging. I saw a lot of people going like early into the trees. I don't even think I actually cleared inbounds. I think I went short OB. So the dude said, all right, I'm 10 over par. I don't give a flip. I'm going to birdie the next hole. So shout out to Donovan Stein for the best ever bounce back, which is the worst stat in disc golf of all time. But shout out to him for the bounce back. I don't even know what you would call that bounce back.
Yeah, well, he went from plus 17 in round 1 to minus 4 in round 2.
He figured something out.
Yeah, he figured it out.
He figured it out. A couple other tournaments that happened this past week. We had the Finnish National Championship with Teemu Talakainen winning in a playoff over Nicholas Antila. Evelina Salonen wins for her second Finnish National Championship in the last 3 years. The Estonian Championship also took place with Albert Tom and Candy Al-Sulu winning that. That's back-to-back for Candy, and now Albert has now 5 Estonian championships. So shout out to all those guys. Very nice. And the Queen is coming back, Gary. She made a post on Instagram saying, I've gotten a lot of questions when I'll be back on the competitive scene, and I'm excited to tell you that I'll be competing in Croak Hole next week. So, ladies and gentlemen, we've been waiting. We'll see. We'll see what her status is. We'll see like how healthy she is. Is she able to throw a sidearm? We'll see all that. Something needs to tell me that I think she's going to do just fine.
Yeah,
I think she's just going to do fine. And the Croak Hole Open, pretty nice little tournament to come back to. There's going to be a lot of people there. So it's not going to be just like a warm-up event for her. She's going to have to go out there and play well if she's going to win that one. So we will see. Hopefully we see like somewhat of a decent Kristin Tattar. I don't even care if she wins that event. I just want to see her kind of come back. So that way European Open, that's where I really want to see the fireworks.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are looking at the list of players for Croak Hole and going, oh, the matchup I want to see is Paige versus Kristin. The matchup I want to see is Kristin versus Silva. Silva's on this a bit of a run. I want to see if she carries the magic in. But yeah, I think Kristin's going to have no problem coming back. And I think it's very smart to come back for this event to get one under the belt before going into European Open.
And I almost forgot. Thank you. I love disc golf. I have to give a shout out to the Geico Gecko on hole 5. I've talked about the Jedi. Not a fan of the Jedi as a spotter. The Geico Gecko was not a spotter. He was not a part of the tournament as far as like officiation goes or anything like that. He wasn't on the green. He was actually out of bounds. And I'm pretty sure that was also some sort of activation, which money was getting pumped into the tournament for that. I don't believe the Jedi guy. I don't think Star Wars was paying for any of that. So with that being said, I'm all for it. I'm all for that 100%. Geico Gecko. Love to see it. All right. Let's talk about it. Who made this decision? European Open hole 16. I get a tweet from Reb saying, what do you think about the changes to hole 16 this year for the European Open? So for our listeners, let me tell you, if you haven't seen it, this is what's going down. Hole 16, for those that remember, that was the hole that AB had his famous collapse where he just couldn't throw the disc in bounds. He had to keep throwing. So the rules of that hole were the bunker rule. You throw OB, you have to rethrow from that same spot, no stroke. So you just keep throwing. You just keep throwing until you land in bounds on the tee shot. You just keep throwing until you land on the island on your second, third, fourth, however many it is. High pressure. These are the new rules for the hole. For any throw from the tee that comes to rest in the OB, the player receives one penalty throw and must rethrow from the previous lie or continue from drop zone 1. Now you might be asking, well, where is drop zone 1? Drop zone 1 is 328 feet. Potentially like a really good angle. Like most people would love to have their tee shot land there probably to throw that shot. Now, you might be saying, okay, well, that's not too bad. Well, for any throw from the fairway or from drop zone 1 that comes to rest OB, the player receives one penalty throw and must rethrow from the previous lie or continue to drop zone 2. So now you're saying, well, wait, Brodie, I thought you said that you hated drop zones on par 4. And I thought you said you hated 2 drop zones on par 4. Yes, you would be correct. This is my least favorite thing ever. Because, oh, guess what? You threw your first shot OB. Oh, don't worry. Go to this drop zone. Oh, you threw that third shot OB. Oh, don't worry. We're going to give you a putt for bogey. You haven't thrown a disc in bounds, and you can still say bogey with a 45-foot putt. What are we doing? What are we doing?
Yeah, I cannot fathom why you would take one of the most electric moments from all of last year and say, you know what, we don't like that. We don't want that to happen. We want to make this hole easier. I mean, there's something about hole 16 down the stretch of the European Open that you as a player, and I mean, obviously pros have different mindsets, but like you always know hole 16 is looming. And there's a chance that you could just take a number that you don't expect on that hole. And it changes the way you have to approach the rest of the round. You have to stay aggressive and stay competitive because you can't take your foot off the gas and go into hole 16 with a 1-stroke lead. You got to go in hole 16 with a 2-stroke lead or a 3-stroke lead. And especially after last year, it's going to be in everyone's mind. It's like the perfect year to see the drama on this hole is after we get the drama last year, because now the hole has more teeth because of what it emotionally did to everyone last year. So I hope there's a way to get this changed. And if there isn't, we need to start, asking and begging that when Worlds goes there in 2025, that they don't make this dramatic error.
There are two holes that I have played where I am thinking about them a couple holes in advance. Hole 16 at European Open, hole 17 at USCGC. That's it. Yep. Those are the only 2 holes that I'm really thinking, and maybe hole 1 at Ledgestone at Eureka.
Oh yeah,
that tee shot is
terrifying. Tee shot.
That tee shot is a little terrifying to start your round. But outside of that, there's really no holes, and I'm trying to get this through people's minds. Sports are supposed to be difficult. We are supposed to see people put in difficult situations and be able to figure out a way to get through them. We keep putting on these kids' gloves and being like, oh, we don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. We don't want anyone to actually get through any trauma. We don't want, and we start making disc golf too easy. Disc golf is already too easy. Stop making it easier. What are we doing? Stop doing that.
Yeah.
We should have every hole. Imagine a tournament where almost every hole played like hole 16. Where you imagine what would happen. Players would break down and have nervous, like anxiety attacks. Look what happened at Northwoods. Look what happened at Northwood that one year. Northwood has the most DNFs out of any other tournament. Is it because people get their fingers cut? Is it because people get their ankles? No, it's because people say, I've had enough. I can't do this anymore. I'm out. This is what disc golf needs. Get the softies out of here and let the best players play on the hardest courses, on the hardest holes, and see who comes out winning.
Yeah, the part that's the most egregious to me is this isn't just a regular tournament. Like, this is a major. This is supposed to be the best of the best. And to put kid gloves on a hole, or especially when we're talking about shots that are under 400 feet.
Yes.
It's like, come on, make them hit a shot. If you look at like the islands they have to hit on other courses, this isn't egregiously smaller than that. This isn't more difficult than that. Like, it's going to be a sad day to watch two people come down the stretch and watch one person get away with a bogey and not have any real consequence in their round. It's just going to be a sad thing.
It's just, disc golf is such a cool sport. Most people that see a disc fly in the air, they watch it. They're like, that's pretty sweet. That's pretty cool. We got to stop making courses easy. You got to start making them more challenging and harder.
Yep.
You have to get people excited, to get people to want to tune in, to get people that are watching at home being like, I would never be able to make that shot. I would never be able to do that. Anyone and their brother can go and play this hole now and shoot a better score than AB did last year. Anyone.
Yep.
You literally turn around. Let me tell you how you do it. You turn around and you drop your disc out of bounds. Then you walk up to the tee pad. You drop your disc out of bounds. Then you go to drop zone 2. You throw a Brodie scuba onto the green and you tap in for tap in for double. And you just beat AB, the one of the top disc golfers ever that played the hole last year. It's stupid. It's absolutely stupid. It makes no sense.
Yeah, especially as the fields get bigger in disc golf. As we get more talent in there and better players, the sport can't get easier. It has to get harder. And the longer we wait to do it, the more eyes, I think, just go away from the sport. Like, this is the time.
And it's like, the crazy thing is like, some of these courses we play have like 3 hard holes. Like, what were we all talking about at Des Moines? Hole 17, 18. Those holes are hard. Did we say that about any other hole?
Nope.
No. So literally we're playing courses right now where there's 2 holes out of 18 that are hard and the rest aren't. Imagine if we played a tournament where every hole was hard and then there was harder holes.
Oh yeah.
That would be insane. People would tune into that.
I think about it this way. I have gone and played a number of Pro Tour courses. If I go play the layout that the MPO play, I should have no business being on that court. There should be a clear and definitive skill gap between the average, like, amateur player and the pro player in terms of what is required and what is necessary. Like, if I can birdie it, or like you said, if I can bogey it, that's ridiculous. It just shouldn't happen.
Yeah, like, imagine going right now to like a PGA Tour course. And I put you on the back tees where they play, and I'm like, hey, you have a 238-yard carry over water. Good luck.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah, I'd say where's the...
You're going to be real quick. You're going to quickly go, holy crap, these guys are good. What the heck?
I would say, when's lunch?
Yeah. So it's crazy to me when people are like, oh my God, this hole's so hard. It's like, that is what all of our holes should be, because you have to make decisions.
Yeah.
Or we're going and playing darts. And again, I know, hey, to all my dart people out there, I'm sorry. I know you guys hate it when I say this, but darts is not going to be a growing sport. Darts is not going to captivate the massive audience.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bar sport. It's a drinking sport. People like it. Whatever. That's fine. And the reason for it is it's very like.
Yep.
You're doing the same thing over and over again. Give us some. People make decisions. Have people make decisions.
And holes don't have to be like, there's some people in the comments talking about like the distances of holes. Holes don't have to be super far to be hard. There's great short holes that can be difficult. Like look at hole 16 this past weekend. That required such a specific shot off the tee pad. That hyzer flip up to flat with the right amount of speed control, because if you went too far, you're going to be in a terrible place. You kick to the right or the left, unless you're AV jump putting 150 feet, you're kissing your par goodbye. Like there are great ways to take short holes and make them difficult and make them effective, especially when you insert them right in the middle of like a set of longer holes to force players to switch up the way they're playing and have to approach a hole with a different kind of mental state. There's ways to do it. It's just across the board. Yeah. Disc golf's got to be harder. I'm all for it. I want to watch it. I don't know too many people who aren't watching disc golf who want to see pros go 18. 18 down should mean something amazing, almost miraculous have happened. We shouldn't be seeing pros consistently going 16 and 17 down and 15 down. It just should be possible. Make it harder. Northwoods was too much fun to watch this year because pros had to struggle through the round. The scores were tight. I loved it. I can't wait. I'm actually going out and playing MA1 at Ledgestone this year, and they're giving us Northwood. I'm so excited to get my lunch handed to me.
Also, again, all these people are telling me darts is massive. Darts is massive. Yes, I get it. I understand. I've seen it. I've watched it. Yes, darts it's honestly probably a bigger sport than disc golf. Oh. But you know what? It's not bigger than literally dozens of other sports. Dozens of other sports. And all I'm saying is there's certain sports that have a ceiling. They just have a ceiling. Horseshoes has a ceiling.
Yep.
Bags has a ceiling. All these things have ceilings.
Yep.
Pool, billiards has a ceiling. Sorry. It is what it is. And what I'm trying to say is disc golf actually has a higher ceiling than a lot of these other sports if they go the right path. That's all I'm trying to say.
Especially because the flight of a disc is one of the most alluring things you could ever see. Yep.
Yes. I'll say that. Shout out to Luke though. Shout out to Luke. He is the OG. Very, very impressive stuff. Triple 20. Okay. Anything else? Anything else about the European disaster that they did? Or are we moving forward? We got all that? Okay. We'll move forward. All right. Some listener questions here. If you guys want to send in listener questions, make sure you guys follow Tour Life over on Instagram, over on Twitter. Jump in there. I normally try to post like the day of and ask, and I'll retweet it on Tour Life as well. So definitely go check that out if you want. We got some good ones this week. The first one coming from Austin. Unfortunately, he's not here, so I will try to do my best to answer for him. But the question was, what has led to Yuli becoming the top putter this year? Can be 10 years ago or last year compared to current moment. So the first thing is, like, if you go back and watch Yuli putt several years ago, he was putting with like this Annie putt, and it was coming out, and he was having like a lot of movement on the disc. He's kind of shied away from that. It's a much more flatter putt now. And then the other thing too is the putt that he's doing now catches in a lot of different spots on the basket. Mm-hmm. So there's multiple times where he might not throw the best putt or the putt that he's exactly trying to throw, and it still will catch. Right? Yeah. So that's the first one. All right. Nolan said, why did you pick DSM? I think he meant DMC. DSM. Yeah, he must have meant DMC to play. And why did your caddy wear sandals round 2? Oh, that's a good question. Okay. So I picked Des Moines to come back because it worked the best with me and Kelsey's schedule. For those that don't know, we got some stuff going on with our family. She's also kind of back and forth between Vegas. So I'm trying to be as home as much as I possibly can. And that tournament kind of worked well where she was back home that week. So that way she could be with the dogs and some other stuff that's going on here. And I was able to go up there for a few days and then come back. So it worked well. And I'm glad it did because I absolutely love that tournament. Why did my caddy wear sandals round 2? He was just a spectator. He was actually wearing Crocs, which I don't know if people that wear Crocs feel disrespected when they're called sandals, but he was just a spectator. And my back was causing some major issues first and second round. So I was thinking in my head, like, I don't know how this is going to go if I'm gonna have to carry this bag. And he was one of the few people that were like watching our card. Our first round was insane. It was me, Kevin Jones, Ben Calloway, and Calvin Heimberg. We actually had like 50 plus people watching us. It was very incredible. Round 2, not so much. Not the craziest. So I saw him watching on hole 1, and I just went up and I was like, hey, you can totally say no, but do you want a caddy? And he was like, absolutely. So that's why he was wearing Crocs. I don't know if that's actually PDJ legal or not. I've seen guys out there wearing jeans as caddies. I think that probably looks worse than Crocs. I'll say that. Anthony wants to know, what's your go? And this is a good one for you too, Gary. What's your on-the-go meal when in a rush for the course? What do you avoid to prevent accidents, if you know what I mean?
That's a great question. One of the things that I think is really crucial is you kind of plan out for what you're going into. This weekend I played a tournament that was really hot. And so it was important that when I went to go eat something, that it wasn't a hot food item. So we had like a cold wrap, something that's small, not too much. I think it's important not to leave yourself, full, that kind of thing. I'm a big fan of like the protein bar between rounds, or snacking on like some cashews and stuff in the middle of a round. I don't like to eat a whole lot before a round. I don't like to eat a whole lot during a round. I like to do just enough to feel comfortable, and then I can have my victory food afterwards.
Yeah, I like protein shakes in the morning for sure. I like my nuts as well. Almonds are really, really good. And electrolytes. That's pretty much what I rock and roll with. I might throw a protein bar in there here and there, depending. All right, this is from Vision 84. How do you feel about all of the goofy bee hats and shenanigans in the course, and the porta potty 20 feet behind the tee pad on the island hole, or the trophy listing COVID as the winner in 2020? I did see that. That was an interesting choice. I think you just skipped the year. Like you just go from 2019 to 2021 there.
Yeah. I think that's what you got to do.
COVID's kind of weird. I'm okay with the B stuff. Because like, again, like at the end of the day, some of these tournaments, they need to start having some sort of identity. And again, this is a sponsor. Hy-Vee is a grocery store there. They put money into the tournament. So if we want to play into this Hy-Vee, Beehive, all that kind of stuff, if they're paying the bills, I'm fine with it. I think I'm completely fine with it. And the people on hole 5 are great. I absolutely love the energy that they bring.
Yeah, it seems like you can get yourself involved with it as a player as much as you want. If you want to just show up, smile and thank, wave and throw your shot and go, you can. Or if you want to be like Holland and put the bee antenna on while you throw, that's perfectly fine too. I mean, they're doing fun stuff out there. What do you think of the CTP thing? I was curious from your perspective as a pro, like, does a CTP being on a hole like that, does that change the way you approach something, especially if you're like in like the top of the field at the moment, or maybe you're not having the best round? Are you going for a CTP like that?
No. I think it's a nice thing to have. I don't think it needs to be super addressed. I mean, the guy that's out there in the beehive costume, shout out to that guy because that must have been hot. But I'm always one of those people where it's like, some of the PGA Tour events, they'll have like a car if you hit a hole in one on, and the car will be like floating in the lake and stuff. We don't need someone like addressing everyone, being like, if you make a hole in one on this hole, you get a car. Like, just let us know beforehand. I think they did that pretty decently at Music City Open one year. I think they did it every round, which I think is a little overkill, but just let the players know, hey, if anyone aces, the first person to ace hole 16 gets a guitar. And it's like a nice little thing. If they want to mention it because it's a sponsored thing or whatever on coverage, that's fine. But I don't think it needs to be like super front and centered for the players when we are on the actual tee. I'll say that. Ronnie wants to know, what do you do? What do you all do to get over an awful round? I had a tournament this weekend where round one killed it. I killed it and shot my best ever on the course. Next day, absolutely pooped the bed and had probably the worst round I've ever thrown. What do you do to get through something like that?
I think that it's really crucial to take time to separate yourself away from the round for a moment and ask yourself, what was it that made the difference in the second round? Was it because you were more tired? Was it because your shots weren't coming out as well? Like, how can you directly change that for the next time? But I think it's also really crucial to realize that a round that is bad is in the past, and all you can do is move forward from it and learn from it, because those who forget the past are doomed to repeat it. And you got to have a short memory with that kind of stuff. One of the things that I like we do locally around here is we have this thing called Twisted Tags, where every Monday we go out and we play around and we add some weird twist or whatever. And the point is, you come out of the weekend having a tournament, maybe you're stressed out from a bad round or whatever, and it gives you a chance just to play the sport and have a good time, have fun. So maybe if you have a bad round on the weekend, pick a day earlier in the week and go to a course that you have a fun time playing. Give yourself a challenge. Go putters only, throw with some discs that you don't normally throw with, whatever it may be, and just take a moment and kind of laugh in the course and enjoy that. Have a short memory, and that's a very, very easy way for me to kind of come back from a bad round over the weekend.
That's really good. The other thing I would add to that is just like perspective. Take a good look of yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, like, are you putting every single day? Are you practicing 2, 3, 4 hours every single day? Like, how much work are you actually putting into disc golf? Because if you're not, then you're going to be super inconsistent. Like, you are going to have some rounds where you play really well and some rounds where you don't play really well. So perspective is everything. Don't be so hard on yourself if you're not putting in an insane amount of work.
Yeah, and what are your goals? If your goal is to be the best player in your local area, you've got to do that kind of stuff. You got to do that. If your goal is to go out there and to just play well and enjoy yourself, then maybe the way you prepare for that's a bit differently. And every course is different. And like you said, Brodie, it's all about perspective. How did everybody else do? Did everyone else struggle because conditions were poor and the course was tough that day? Or was the course in great conditions, you struggled because maybe you just weren't there mentally? There's a lot of factors at play there.
Absolutely. Johnny asks, is it unfair that a card can have extra people looking for a disc? I've heard Perkins and Earhart mention that they were going to help players on lead card find a lost disc. Obviously, other cards don't have that luxury. This is just one of the things that kind of goes with the sport. You can look at it a lot of different ways of where, golf's the easiest, again, an easy comparison, where Tiger Woods would always have a huge crowd lining the fairway. Or lining the fairway, I guess you could say. So like his errant shots would get like hit, like he would hit a person and not go super far. Where if you're playing at 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning and no one's out there, your ball's not getting stopped by it. No one's there. It's just going. I think the lost disc thing is absolutely crazy. That's something that 100% should not happen when disc golf gets to that level. Right now, we don't have enough spotters on courses. I would say like this past week, we had a decent amount out there. We could have used an extra 30. We could have used an extra 30 spotters. And if you have 30 spotters, you don't have this issue of where's my disc? You have a flag. That's literally where your disc is. And so you're not looking for it. So I think that gets solved. But to me, it's like, that's just, hey, if you're playing really well, yeah, that's just an advantage you have. You have an advantage of where you might get a whole bunch of people that move a boulder for you to hit a shot.
Yep. Or bring a caddy. There's an extra set of 2 eyes.
There you go. Get yourself a caddy. Maybe have a significant other in the crowd as well. All right. Final questions from Justin. I'm about to play a 3-round tournament. I'm a similar age to you guys. What routines do you use before and after rounds to minimize soreness and improve recovery? This is a great question.
Ooh, that's a big one. One thing is, don't put yourself in a condition that you're not going to experience in the next round. So I run very warm. I don't like being in super, super hot rounds. But if I were to sit in air conditioning for like 15 or 20 minutes between a round, my body will think that we're done, and like it'll start to shut itself down. So don't put yourself in a condition where you're gonna have to like almost reintroduce yourself to the environment. Sit outside, get the water. Plan ahead. Planning ahead is a big one. Know what you need as a person. How much water do you need? How much food do you need? This happened to me this exact weekend with 3 rounds. I played 3 rounds. Last year, my buddy and I, we were dead going into the 3rd round. This year, we planned ahead. We got a cooler with water, with Gatorade.
Nice.
We thought about electrolytes. We thought about diversifying what we had for food between the rounds. And at the end of the 3rd round, we felt great. I could have went and played a 4th round if I wanted to. So plan ahead and just get the stretches in. Keep yourself loosey-goosey,
Yeah, for me, it's make sure you have an active warm-up. Don't just jump out of your car and start throwing. So have a good active warm-up. Make sure everything's loose and warmed up. And then after the round, I see so many people that just like hop in their car and leave. Make sure you give a good like 5 to, even if it's at 5 minutes, a good 5 minutes to stretch out the major muscle groups. And that will go a long, long way into, and then I would also stretch again later in the shower. Like the shower stretching is sometimes the best because you got the hot water to kind of loosen you back up. So shower stretching is always a plus. All right, I got to give a shout out to Noah Carlgren. Noah Carlgren. We got a video here to play for you guys if you're on the YouTubes. 8 years old, taking down this nasty Heiser ace here.
Go.
Shout out to Noah. Very nice. I don't know if this was his first ace ever or not, but I saw this video. Got to give a shout out here to my boy Noah. Keep it going, brother. Very, very nice. Very, very nice. All right, this week in Foundation, you guys sold out the Dark Horse Ace-a-thon disc in less than 40 minutes. Gone. So shout out to each and every one of you. Thank God. At the end of the day, you don't have to be a top 5 player in the world to sell discs. So I thank each and every one of you for the support. Absolutely. Thank you guys. And if you were able to get one of those things, I am very eager and excited to start seeing these Dark Horse Aces coming in. Again, top 5 get prizes, with the top grand prize getting a grip bag and a bunch of goodies thrown into there from Discraft and Foundation Disc Golf as well. Silas, Tour Life merch update. Our road to 1,000 items.
Well, it continues because we're at 524 for this week.
All right,
Moving
520. 524, 550 just around the corner. Go over to Foundation Disc Golf, pick up some Tour Life merch. You can get a shirt like this if you want. We got hats, we got chalk bags, we got patches, we got discs, we got all sorts of things for you at foundationdiscgolf.com. And don't forget, you can use Tour Life 15. Let me double check that. I'm pretty sure it's Tour Life 15. Tour Life 15 for 15% off Tour Life. Silas, Gary, anything before we jump into the interview with Emily?
No, just thanks for having me on. It was a pleasure to be here. And, I never want Yuli to lose his bags in the airport, but if you ever need someone again, I'm always available. This was a lot of fun, Brodie. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, shout out to Gary for jumping in here last minute. Appreciate you, brother. That was very nice. Very fun. We'll definitely have to have you back on at some point. Maybe we'll have you back on with Yuli too as a little third mic. Who knows?
Ooh, there we go.
But we're going to jump in now, guys, to Emily's Weathermen's interview. We sit down, buckle up. It was very interesting. Very, she had a lot of things to say about a lot of stuff. So sit down. It's a full hour long. So grab your popcorn if you need it. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you guys next week. And without further ado, your 2024 Des Moines Challenge winner, Emily Weathermen. All right, Emily, here we are. Where are you, by the way? Are you already back in Texas?
Yes, I am back home in Abilene, Texas.
Wow. Did you straight private jet right back home?
Yeah, I just drove all day yesterday.
Oh, snap. Oh, right after you won, you drove all the way back.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's kind of impressive because I was looking at potentially driving up to because you're actually just west of where I'm in Dallas, so you're just west of us. And for those that don't know or aren't good with geography, that is a decent drive. So that is some impressive stuff. Is there a reason to get back home quickly? You got a tournament coming up or something like that?
I am in the middle of a purchase of an RV.
Oh,
So, yeah.
Exciting. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure the check that you won at this past tournament definitely is going to help with that. But let's just jump into it, because I think some of us that pay attention to FPO have seen your name pop up on leaderboards from time to time this year. But there's a lot of people that don't just have no idea who Emily is. And so I wanted to kind of, before we get into the tournament and breaking all that down, give you some time to kind of explain a little bit about yourself. First thing that jumps out to me is the age, 18 years old. So like where are you at in your life as far as, did you go to college? Were you thinking about going to college? Like where is that all fit in now with disc golf?
So no, I did not go to college, and I haven't ever really thought about college, just because I've been playing disc golf since a very young age, and it's kind of always been my dream to go on tour and try to make that work. I think if tour didn't work out, then college would be something I turn to. I just don't know what for. But yeah, I went to public school through elementary and middle school, and then I went back. I went to homeschool for high school. That way I could focus more on disc golf and not have any other distractions from it besides just getting the schoolwork done. And in that time, I really saw my disc golf progress very fast. And then after I graduated, I went on tour for like just the Texas swing. And that's all I was planning on doing. And I saw that like I did pretty good, and I was like, well, maybe I should try this out and just make my rookie year one to remember. So that's where I'm
so
at.
you're saying this year you were planning on just playing Texas events. And
Yes.
then because of your success at those events, you're like, well, let me enter a couple other ones. Wow.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. Okay. And so it sounded too like this was something at a young age that you are trying to pursue, like other athletes in other sports. Is that correct? This is something that you're like, this is what I want to do for a living?
Yes.
What, I think if we go back, 10 years or so, that would probably be a pretty crazy thing to like try to convince your parents at a young age, like, hey, I want to be a professional disc golfer. But what has transpired these last couple of years that has made it to where that was something that you're like, oh, this is something feasible. This is something I can actually make a living doing?
My parents were a huge help. They always would like encourage me, be like, this is going to be you one day. And everybody back here in Texas, like they all were like, I can see it. You're going to be on tour. You're going to be up there with the top ladies. So I think just the encouragement from everybody else and them seeing that I can do it helped me see it in myself. Nice.
And I'm sure like some of the bigger contracts with Paige, Kristin Tattar, those type of things where you're like, hey, the money is out there. Because as we all know, it is very difficult to make an actual decent living just by tournament winnings, unless you're playing a tournament every single week. Because a lot of people don't factor in the travel, the gas, the mile, all the stuff. I mean, you're about to buy an RV. It is expensive. And so if you don't have outside money coming in, it is difficult. I am curious, though, Abilene, Texas, what courses are you playing out there?
So the main course that I play is Will Hare, and it's an 18-hole course. It's short. We don't have any long courses here. But it's like kind of technical. There's a lot of OBs. But it's probably one of the easiest courses that probably anybody would play. But that's my favorite course here. And then we have Cal Young, which is my second favorite here. It's a little bit longer, not by much. More open, not as much OB. There's a little bit of water. Um, but I think that that's kind of where I got my distance from, and I don't have much of it because, like I said, every hole's pretty short here in Abilene. But
So there's a lot of people that are probably in your situation. And I mean, I can relate to being in Dallas. A lot of the courses that I was practicing and playing at before going on tour were those 200-foot, 230, 50 feet of just a sidearm stand, whatever it may be. And then you go on tour and you're like, oh my gosh, this is a completely different style of disc golf. What advice do you have and what have you done to be able to make that jump from playing local short courses to now going on some of the longest courses on tour and being successful at them?
so for my courses, I kind of learned that like low flex shot. Just that's my go-to shot. If you've watched any coverage, everybody knows that that's my go-to shot, and that I think helps me a lot on tour because sometimes you just need that just low flex shot. If you have that low flex shot, some other girls don't have that. They have the big hyzer, they have the Annie shot, but sometimes that like just keep it in the middle straight shot is a difficult thing to get. So, if you can just get that, I think you'll be doing really well. But also just, every course is different and you're out there, you're learning the lines. You just have to, especially first year on tour, you just have to like believe in yourself because it is your first year there compared to some that have been there for years. And you can't just let that, get to you because you can't do anything about it. So just do with it what you can and have fun doing it.
Are you going out to like fields and trying to increase your distance that way since, the courses that you're playing, you're not really required to throw far shots?
Not so much. I don't love doing field work. I don't know what it is about it, but I just never see any progress. I see the most progress when I'm actually playing around on a course. So no, not really. I think the only thing that I use field work for is my forehands.
Okay. Is there a goal in mind to start playing courses that are longer to maybe start trying to generate more power, more distance? Because like you said, you have that and if you go back and watch how you played this past week, I mean, you threw the same shape shot maybe 10 plus times and it looked perfect the last round too. And the round before that, actually, you're throwing really great shots. But is that something that you're like, hey, for me to be able to compete at some of these other events, I need to be able to throw 50 feet farther, or I need to be able to have a big hyzer spike shot? Is that something that you're looking to develop over the next couple of years?
Yes, I do plan on focusing on like going to the gym in the off season. So hopefully the gained muscle will help play into that, but just kind of tweaking my form over the off season as well, because I know it's not perfect, will definitely be something that I do, and working with Rob to kind of get the distance thing down because he's definitely got that down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And for those that don't know, you're talking about Robert Burge.
Yes.
Gotcha. Yeah, it was fun. I was we had decent amount of backups, unfortunately, on Sunday. And so I was on hole 8 and we were just posted up there and I'm watching, you guys play. And I see Rob like walking up the fairway of 7. He played right behind me and he's just looking at his phone. I'm like, oh, he's probably watching FPO coverage as well. So some exciting times there. So you kind of mentioned you started playing disc golf at a very, very young age. How did you learn about disc golf? What got you into it?
So my dad got me, my mom, and my brother into it when I couldn't tell you what age I was. I just know that I was really young. I was playing soccer back then. It was elementary school. and I would just bring like a soccer ball and kick it around, maybe throw a few discs, but it was like I wasn't really interested. Um, Slowly I started getting more interested. My brother started getting less interested, so we kind of like swapped.
Mm.
And I just started taking it more serious. Sometimes I would have like month-long breaks because I would just get frustrated and be focused on something different, maybe a school sport. But like I said, once I went to homeschool in high school, that's whenever I started really getting more into it and realizing that that's really what I want to do. Um, so I mean, that's kind of the path that I took. It was stressful because I know my parents saw it in me when I was really young, and they were kind of pushing me to play more than I wanted to, but they didn't push too much, which I think is good because I still stayed in it. But I know that I probably stressed them out a little bit with just being like, no, I'm not gonna go play. I'm not. But now I'm here, so I think they're pretty proud.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's got to be such a fine line as a parent on pushing your kid enough for that way later in life they don't look back and be like, man, I really regret not giving my best effort, but also knowing the line of when it's like, okay, that they really don't want to pursue this anymore. So I'm sure there were still signs of you loving disc golf as you just kind of had to get over that hump a little bit. All right, so a lot of people talk to about, coming up through the ranks of disc golf and, earning your stripes before you play on tour. And it looks like you have certainly done that, kind of going back and looking at where you started. You started playing juniors. I think what was it? F14 might have been the first division you were playing in, or is it 12? It might have even been 12. Was it F12?
I think it's 12. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you might
I
be.
got
I
a
think,
trophy there. Yeah, it's 12.
oh, there you go. Okay. So going all the way back into 2018 is kind of when you started playing your first tournaments. Then you moved up into FA2, FA1, and then recently you're now obviously playing FPO and you're playing on the tour. Do you think that kind of helped you kind of going through the different levels, different stages of disc golf?
Yeah, I mean, I think it did. I got to move up with a lot of women in like Texas. So it was always kind of the same people that I was playing with because there wasn't that many around West Texas. It was kind of hard to find competition. Um, but yeah, moving up and realizing that like, oh wow, this person used to beat me all the time and now they can't, you know? It showed me how much I was progressing, and it felt really good to see that and kept me motivated to continue.
This is actually a great topic here to talk about a little bit, because I think sometimes people really look at like the ratings to get a gauge of where they are skill level wise. And this past tournament, you shot, I believe, your first ever 1,000 rated round, and then you followed it up with another 1,000 rated round. So what you just said right there, I think so many people can use that to like help them gauge where they at skill wise and if they're getting better or not versus the rating system. Because again, the rating system, I don't know if you've listened to our podcast, it's so flawed. I hate the rating system, especially for like professionals. But do you kind of value that as well as like, hey, don't look at your number after your round. Don't look at your number compared to other people in the country. Kind of compare yourself with, like you said, I get beat by this person every single tournament. And then to all of a sudden you start getting closer and closer. Like, has that kind of helped you? Or are you like a person that, it's Tuesday. Are you looking to see what your rating is this morning?
So I did look at my rating this morning only because me and my dad are kind of going head to head right now.
Okay.
So
Friendly competition.
I was 936 and he just moved up to 936, but I moved up to 940. And so
nice.
he's like talking about how he doesn't have a chance, and it was funny. But I definitely focus more on who I'm beating or who I'm losing to versus my rating, but my rating still is, I'm still looking at it.
And it's probably, honestly, it shouldn't be, but it is probably very important to you for sponsorships, getting into tournaments, all those things. That's where to me, I don't love it. I don't like it. I also don't like it if, you played really well as far as the rating goes this past week. But let's say you went out there and you would have won, let's say you won DMC with a 960 rated average. People are going to look at that and downplay it. So that's the other reason why I don't love it too much. But speaking of people that you beat, let's talk about this real quick, because I saw this and I thought this was fascinating. This past November 2023, you played in VPO, which is a local A-tier tournament here in Dallas, big A-tier tournament. And you lost to Holland Hanley by 37 shots.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward 245 days later, and now you have beaten her and everyone else in the FPO field. What's changed? What was the what's been the drastic change between those 245 days, would you say?
I would say the different mindset that comes with being on tour, and just confidence from also being on tour. It's like different disc golf. Like, it's not just your normal A tier and below. It's getting out there. You've got ratings are better because they're not based off of like the MPO rating, and that's how it is in most A tiers and below.
Mm-hmm.
And so that definitely helps, is like your mindset. And I know we were just talking about ratings. That does help my mindset, because it's like, I could shoot what I think is a really bad round, but it still could be over my rating, and I'll be okay with it. I'll come to terms with it and just do better the next day. But so that helps, and just, I guess, feeling like I'm fitting in, everybody welcoming me, just the overall mindset of just being there helps me play to my best abilities.
Is there anything in your game that has improved in those 245 days? Is there, hey, I used to be terrible at circle 2 putting, but now I'm a lot better? Or is it simply just, my game's always been there, I just needed the confidence to be able to go out and do it?
My game has definitely improved. C2 putts, definitely. I used to jump putt, now I do a step putt. It's a lot more accurate. I don't find myself like pulling it as much or missing left as much. So yes, C2 putts. I think my drives have gotten a lot more consistent, and my forehand has gotten a lot better.
When do you decide to step putt and not? Is there a specific distance or a specific, if it's an uphill putt or a downhill putt? Because on hole 17, I believe you were outside the circle by quite a bit, and you didn't step putt. So when do you make that decision on step putting or not?
So I know I have a lot of power just in my standstill putt, and it's kind of just, if I feel like I can't get it there with just a standstill, I'll switch to the step putt. It's not like a certain distance, because sometimes I'll feel it from a certain distance, and another day I won't feel it from the same exact distance, and I'll be like, I need the step. And it has to do with wind, definitely uphill or downhill. Downhill, most of the time, I will not step putt, just because it's a little bit easier to get it there. Downhill, uphill, you'll see me step putt a little bit more, because I feel like I can't get it there.
Okay, so we talked a little bit about, or you talked a little bit about how this year's schedule has kind of drastically changed from just planning on playing a few events in Texas, and now we see you kind of popping up all over the place. Are you now, like, after winning this, is that now changed even more? Are you planning on doing even more events this year than you were in the past? And are you essentially a full-time professional disc golfer now?
Yes, to pretty much all of that. I had already planned on hitting up all the tour events that I can. And And so that's kind of what I'm doing. I'm trying to finish out the year playing as many as possible. And I do believe that I am a full-time tour disc golfer now.
So what are like the big goals now? Like what do you have? Because I'm sure your goals have definitely changed. Because I doubt you jumping into tour, you were like, hey, a goal of mine is to win my rookie season. So now that you've won, are you now having to like make new goals? Like, hey, I want to contend at a major. I want to qualify for this. What are your goals for the rest of the season now?
I haven't really thought much about goals because I just kind of take it day by day and try not to have like super high expectations, especially with it being my rookie year. But I do think that in the back of my mind, I'm like, I want to win like one more, at least
Okay.
one more,
Okay.
just to feel, I guess, more satisfied with myself because I know that I can now, and so I think if I didn't, then I would just be like, I could have done better, and I don't want to have that feeling. I want to have I did great, and I know that I'm doing great. I just want to, do it for myself.
How has social media been for you? Are you big on social media? Do you have an Instagram that you post on? Are you making YouTube content?
So I do have an Instagram and a Facebook that I post on daily whenever it's tournament time. Um, like that being normally Friday through Sunday, posting about my rounds, going through my rounds. I would like to get more into social media, and I used to have a YouTube account, can't log into it anymore. There's not much on it. So probably in the near future, I will get a new one and try again. I'm really bad at talking to cameras, so it'll definitely take some work. But yeah, I do plan on being more active on social media, especially when a sponsor comes around. But as of right now, I don't think I do enough, and so it's something that I need to work on.
Are you we've seen from some people both on the MPO and FPO side struggle with maybe the fans pressure of, hey, we want this from you, hey, you need to be doing this, or if you start playing poorly, people coming after you. Is that something that you feel like you can handle decently? Because you're going to have a whole bunch of more eyeballs on you leading up these next couple of events that you're jumping in. Is that something that you're ready for?
Yeah, I'm ready. Um, I've always had like a pretty big fan base back home in Texas, and so I've always had these eyes on me. And I know a few times I've been like, well, I really don't want to disappoint everybody, and I feel like I am. Um, but it honestly just drives me to play better. It pushes me and motivates me to do better. I don't really take it as something bad. I take it in the best way that I can, and I've never let like crowds or anything like that bother me. Like it's always made me play better because I'm a little bit of a show off. So I just live in the moment and have fun with it.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, that's great to hear because for disc golf to continue to grow, you're going to need more media. You're going to need more people talking about it. And when you have more people, I always kind of say it as a young YouTube channel, right? And it sounded like you kind of created your YouTube channel. When you just start creating your YouTube channel at the very beginning, the only people that are like watching your videos and commenting on your videos are like friends and family. Those are the only people that like have seen can find your videos. Then slowly it starts kind of separating to other people that are like, oh, I really like this content. At a certain point in time, though, your video might get out to like a weird wide audience of people being like, what the heck is this? And then that's where like the negative comments come in. And some people can handle it and some people can't. And I think that's right now where like disc golf is disc golf has been this very close-knit family. Everyone love everyone. Everyone is awesome. But it's starting to kind of branch out into more of a modern sports media when media is concerned. And so now you're starting to get the negativity of where you're having people say like, oh, this person isn't very good at disc golf anymore, saying certain and some people can't handle it all. And it sounds like you're kind of up for the task, and like almost you take it as like a challenge. If someone was like, let's just assume that the next term it doesn't go well for you, right? You're going to have probably a lot of people be like, oh, she was just like a one-hit wonder. That was like a rare occasion. You're going to use that to fuel yourself going forward, it sounds like?
Yeah, for sure. I'll probably just
I love that.
look at it, laugh at it, move on.
Yeah, I love that. That's awesome. That's fantastic to hear. Okay, so you're playing full-time now, and it sounds like from what you've said so far, and maybe some of the little birdies that I have in my ear, you're not currently signed with anyone. You have no sponsorship?
No sponsorship, no.
Any emails coming through this past day? Any Instagram DMs, anything like that?
I have been talking.
Okay.
So we'll see what is to come. I'm not like rushing into anything just because, I have been playing really well with my mixed bag, and I don't want to just, like cut that and finish the rest of the season with something that I'm uncomfortable with. So I'm definitely going to take it slow and do things the correct way.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, it would be fascinating if you were the first one to really be like, hey, let me finish out my season with the disc that I have, and I'll just wear your hat. I'll just wear your name on the back of my shirt. I'll randomly, you can now use my name and likeness on discs and stuff, but I don't know, that would be very interesting. And I think that's a smart play, because I think some people in your shoes would be very quick to be like, hey, let me get a sponsorship. And now all of a sudden the next week you're playing with a whole new bag and you're trying to learn it. I like that play for you. And also too, you're kind of betting on yourself too, right? Like if you end up playing and, like you said, win another tournament, all of a sudden the numbers on that contract might be a little bit juicier.
Yeah. And I don't need a sponsor to finish the year out. You know what I mean? Like I can finish the year out by myself and I'd be completely fine. And so that's why I feel comfortable with taking things slow and continuing to use my mixed bag that I'm comfortable with.
I like that. You now become the 5th first-time winner on tour this year. The previous record of that was 2. So what is happening right now? Are we just seeing completely more parity in the FPO field, where you know, in the past, it used to be if Katrina or Paige was in the field, one of those two was going to win. We saw a little dominance from Owen Scoggins, obviously Kristin Tattar, who hasn't been in the field lately. But are we starting to see like a new change in the FPO? Are you seeing that as well the last several tournaments you've been at?
Yeah, I think this year people really came to fight for that number one spot. I think a lot more people are opening up and getting out of their shell and playing the disc golf that they know that they can. And it's really awesome to see everybody competing with each other and not just being, one or two people up at the top. I'm glad that I'm here this year because it seems like the most competitive year that we've had so far.
You still there? Sorry, cut out a little bit.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay. Sorry, go ahead.
What did you hear last?
You were saying that you were glad you're on tour this year.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm here on tour because it seems like the most competitive year we've had in a while. And the competitiveness is always something that gets me going.
Nice. So let's talk real quick. Let's talk about elephant in the room. This is happening at pretty much the last several events ever since Kristin got injured and has taken time off tour. We've had two different sides of the argument. Some people, Yuli on our last podcast was saying, hey, Kristin's letting all these women get these wins under their belt and getting the confidence of winning. She's going to come back and find, oh my gosh, it's a lot harder. I'm on the side of, hey, I think everyone that's winning right now, it's awesome. But I got to believe in the back of their head, they're like, what's going to happen when Kristin comes back? So where are you on that? Are you thinking, hey, this win was awesome, but I really want to beat her at an event? Like, I want to get a W with her in the field as well?
Yes, definitely. That has been something on my mind is when she comes back, I want to prove, because we've seen all the posts, all the comments talking about how there's only new winners because Kristin's gone, and I want to be the one to prove those comments wrong, and I think that I can. So
I like it. Yeah, I mean, I was wrong at the beginning of the season. I said Kristin was going to win every event. I said no one was gonna beat her this year, and like it only took a couple events before we started seeing like Evelina and some other ladies actually win. So I think all of this is, I mean, obviously the dominance that Kristin has had these last couple seasons has been incredible. But the thing I think that we're all driving for and all want is like competition. We just want to see people going back and forth and seeing who's going to take it at the end. And the more names that are in the mix that can do that, the better. So I love to see it. And I think we're all excited to see the first event that you and Kristin are both at. Let's see here. Okay. Let's jump a little bit now into the actual tournament here. So Des Moines Challenge, what did you know about the course coming into it? What did you know about the event? Was this the first time I'm sure first time playing the course?
yeah, so I didn't know much about the course. I just came in, practiced it. I thought it really fit my game. So that was my first round, which was on
What day are you getting in practicing,
Monday.
by the way?
It was Monday.
Okay, you're getting in on Monday. Okay.
Yeah, so played my first practice round on Monday. I played really well that day, and it gave me confidence. For sure, I felt really comfortable in the course from the get-go, which doesn't happen a lot. And then I played Tuesday and Wednesday. Tuesday, I played pretty well as well, but I don't think I finished the round because I got really exhausted. Like I was so tired for some reason. And then Wednesday, I had a little bit of a rough round, but it still was under par. So I was like, okay, even a rough round, I'm still shooting under par on this course. That's good. But I also was like, if that's what I'm doing, that's what other people are going to do as well. Under par is going to be something that isn't great on this course. Like, you're going to have to be pretty deep under par, which wasn't true because I shot 2 under par the first round, and it put me in contention to win it. So now I did have to go 8 down, 8 down. I guess I didn't have to go 8 down the last round, but I did that, and that was what I was hoping to do, was get around 8 down for each round.
Okay.
So I definitely felt really comfortable coming in practicing. It was my first time playing the course. It was my first time in Iowa. There's a lot of firsts. Like, any of the courses that we're playing on tour, I've never seen them before, never played them.
How was you spoke about first round, you probably weren't super thrilled coming off the course with your score, but you looked at what everyone else was shooting. And this is a perfect example of where it's like, don't look at the rating, just look at what everyone else is at. And after the first day, honestly, that win was very tough. Not just for FPO, but also for the MPO field. The way that it was gusting made a lot of shots a lot more difficult. And for those that have never gone out to Picker Park, the wind is really the big defense out there. It doesn't have they've added some, hole 17, 18, a little bit more tougher this year. And they've added a little tighter OB in here and there. But when the wind is down, the course completely plays differently. And so looking at it, yeah, I mean, you're 4 shots after round 1, you're 4 shots back of the lead, but you're only 1 shot back from a tied for third. So you're feeling probably pretty good where you were. You felt like you didn't play that great. And looking at your scores here, it looks like you just weren't able to get anything going. Whenever you kind of started making a birdie, you had a couple birdies here, then you would take a bogey. You had a bogey on 17, but then had a nice birdie on 18 there to finish your round. let's fast forward here to going into the final round. You're 5 shots back from Owen Scoggins, and at this point in time, Owen Scoggins is probably the most dominant, or at least the scariest person to have to try to beat in the field right now. What are your thoughts going into it? Are you thinking in your head, hey, I have a chance to win this tournament? Or are you thinking, hey, I just want to place high, I just want to try to get as much cast as possible? What's your mindset going in 5 shots behind Owen?
So I went in with the mindset of like top 3. I was like, I just want to get a top 3. Whether that's 1, 2, or 3, don't really care. I'm gonna be happy with any of them. And I know I called my mom and my dad before the round, like the day before, and I named every hole that I can get a birdie on, and every hole that I'm playing for par. And I didn't do what I thought I would do, because I know the interview in the beginning of the tournament, I got interviewed Thursday. I said that the front 9 was more birdieable for me than the back 9. Well, my rounds didn't show that. I birdied the back 9 more than I birdied the front 9, and I don't really know why. But going into the last round, I realized something. I don't have to get every birdie that I think that I need. I just have to keep it clean and get the birdies where I can, because my round felt very slow in the beginning, and it was really slow in the beginning because I went birdie and then it took like 5 pars until I got another birdie. You know, I just played smart. I played safe. If I didn't get off the tee well, I just didn't go for everything. I wasn't playing super aggressively. I was just, going for birdie when it really looked easy, and going for par when it wasn't. And especially, I know in the end there, I had a few shots that I didn't get off the tee very well on, like 16. I was like, okay, I didn't get off the tee, but by the grace of God, I was in bounds. So don't give yourself a chance to get a bogey. So I threw a really good forehand, put it right next to the basket. That way I was like, all right, I'm going into 17 and 18, just took a par. Let's see what I can do on these. If I get out of the opening on 17, the way that I did, I'm going for the birdie. And then 18, my game plan was exactly how I did it. I wasn't changing game plan for anything. Even if I was winning at that point, I was like, I'm not going to change it, because if I change it, I could mess up even more than just going for it, So I just stuck with my game plan, and it worked, thankfully.
Yeah, I think we'll talk a little bit about the finishing stretch and the game plan, because I find that very fascinating with disc golf. I think a lot of that has to do with just how the courses normally are set up for us, of where it is smarter just to keep doing what you've been practicing and what you were planning on doing, regardless of where you are in the position. However, I do see that causing some problems in the future if the courses actually change to where it's like, yo, you should definitely just lay up and then chip around and play it that way. But before we jump into that, you mentioned you birdied hole 1, so you got off to a great start, and you got to be thinking, hey, I need to go out, and this is the same way on the MPO field. I need to go out and shoot 6, 5, 7 under on the front 9. That is where the birdies are. And then let me pick and maybe try to hold on the back 9. So you being 1 under through 6, and did you look at the score and see, okay, I'm fine, like no one else is actually playing that well? Because looking on lead card, you had Eliezer was 1 under through 6. Natalie was 2 through 6. Owen was even through 6. And Holland was 1 under through 6. Are you looking at scores throughout the final round at all to know like where you're at with everyone else?
So I didn't look at scores until hole 15 of the last round.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, I try to hold off.
So how'd you keep your composure there? Because like in my head, I got to be thinking like I'm 1 under through 5 or 6. Like I need a birdie out to have any chance at this. And I would probably be running putts all over the place. I'd be going for crazy shots. Like, how did you keep your composure after starting that slow?
So I know that like me getting that way, me being mad or frustrated that I'm not shooting as well as I should be through 6, I'm not gonna sit there and be like, wow, this is awful. I need to completely change my game plan and be more aggressive. I'm thinking, okay, I can't change what I've already played, so just stick to game plan because you had that game plan for a reason. So stick to it and just expect it to work. And that's what I
Did
did.
you
Like
have someone on
didn't
the? Sorry, go ahead.
I didn't get like in my head about not birdieing that much on the front nine. Just because like it was okay. And I know that like 10 down probably wasn't gonna happen again because it was a little bit windier and I was just I don't know, I just didn't I wasn't really thinking about everybody else. I was just thinking about me, thinking about even if I don't get a top 3, like it'll probably be okay. But if I just shoot kind of a solid round, I have a good chance at it.
It looked like you did have a caddy. So is that super helpful to have someone that you can kind of talk to throughout the round and kind of bounce ideas off of? Or if you maybe do miss a putt and you get a little frustrated, you can kind of have that. 'Cause a lot of players, they want to try to have that with each other. And sometimes you're on a card with 3 other people that are like, bro, I'm not like your caddy. I don't really care what's going on in your round. Is it nice having someone that you can kind of talk to throughout your round?
So yeah, it was really nice. Shout out David for caddying for me. He's
Shout
great.
out David.
Um, he definitely helped because I was bouncing ideas off of him. I was like, okay, yesterday this disc didn't work on this hole, and the day before it didn't work either. So maybe I should disc down to like something straighter, like my leopard 3. And I just would like run that idea by him, and all I was looking for was him to put some confidence in it for me. And so him being like, yeah, I think that's a great idea. That's all I needed. And it helped me to throw the shot well. And even if I was missing putts, he was like, hey, that was really that was still a really solid putt. And he'd give me a fist bump. It's just a constant like reassurance throughout the round that just kept me in high spirits and kept me going.
Yeah, it's actually awesome to see. I think league card, I think everyone had a caddy. I think Evan Smith was carrying his own bag, but he did have a caddy with him, which is completely different than when I first came on tour. No, like everyone wanted to carry their own bag. No one wanted to have caddies. And I was always thinking like, what are you guys doing? Like just having someone carry your 20-pound, 15-pound bag for 3 days around like that saves you so much energy. Even if they're mute and they're not going to say anything to you, it still makes no sense to carry your own bag. But it is awesome to see now FPO and MPO alike both having caddies out there. All right, let's jump into your round, hole 11 here. I just want to go straight this was one that I circled because I thought this is something that you could give a lot of advice to, a lot of the people that watch our podcast here, because this happens all the time. Hole 11, your second shot, you're throwing through the gap. You throw a good shot. It lands by the basket, but the way the hill is for us, our vantage point, we can't really see what ends up happening. We can't really tell. Did it stop? Did it not? And it ended up kicking up and kind of rolling quite a ways. So did you think it was close? And then as you were walking and approaching, you saw that, oh man, it's actually not close?
Yeah. So I was looking by the basket.
Or did you know it wasn't close?
No, I was looking by the basket because I thought that it ended up in bullseye. And I get over there and I asked like some of the spotters, I was like, where'd the purple one go? And they're like, oh, it's right there. and it's in NC2. And I was like, oh, well,
Yeah.
it's a bad break. I threw a good shot, got a bad break. Make up for it with a putt. That was the mindset I
So,
had.
yeah. Okay, because a lot of us have a little bit of a different mindset of where we're walking up being like, oh, this is going to be a tap-in birdie. Heck yeah. And then you walk up and you're like, wait a second, I have to make a putt. And sometimes that change of thinking in your head you have a birdie already, you've already marked it down pretty much in your head that it's a birdie. And now seeing like, wait a second, I have like a 35, 40 footer. You quickly just kind of don't even think about it. You're just like, well, I just got to make a putt now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't ever celebrate too early. So in my head, I wasn't like, oh, that's a birdie, because I didn't see where it ended up. So I knew that there was like a possibility that it rolled. I did not like scratch that out. I was just like, just get up there, find where it is, and go from there.
Okay, nice. Yeah, me and Yuli have joked on this podcast before where, we'll have our caddy basically be like, oh, that's parked. And then we walk up there and it's 25 feet and we're like, that is not parked. I have to make a putt here. And sometimes that is a little bit tough when you have already mentally put in your head, like, I'm going to birdie this hole. This is marked down. And then you get up there and you're not. Okay, so let's talk real quick. To me, you've already said that you're not looking at scores on hole 15, but the putt on hole 12, that is where I thought, okay, she's done. Like, I thought your missed birdie putt on hole 12, I thought that was going to be the beginning of the end. I thought, okay, well, she had a good run. She had a chance to win this thing. She needed to make that putt. Didn't. And because in my head, I'm thinking like, as the round goes, the holes get harder and harder to birdie. And, you're right neck and neck with I think Natalie at that point, all those people were kind of right there, Holland, and they all had some of the easy birdie holes coming up. They hadn't played yet. What was going on in your mind once you kind of, I think you clinked it off the top band. Was it?
Mm-hmm.
Was it off the top?
I did. Yeah.
What's going through your mind there? Is that all thinking, like, do you have those thoughts come in your head real quick? Like, oh, well, that's it. Or are you just able to stay positive and don't even have to like push out those negative thoughts?
So actually walking up to the putt, I felt a lot of pressure to make it. And in my head, I was just like, I knew what my score was for the round because I just had it in my head. That's just how my mind works. But I did not know it in the standings. I didn't know what anybody else was shooting at all. So I was like, okay, I'm pretty sure I was 5 down at that point.
Yep.
I was like, I'm 5 down. I probably could use this birdie, but I probably won't really need it if I'm wanting a top 3. I was like, if I miss it, it's not the end of the world. If I'm missing a putt, it's going to be a putt for birdie. And it's par at worst is what I'm thinking. So I wasn't really too mad that I missed the putt, just because I was having some doubt in that putt. And I don't really know why, because my putting was looking really solid. Yeah,
you just made a 40-footer the hole before.
Yeah, it comes and goes. But yeah, the wind kind of came through the trees in a way that I didn't think it would. And I didn't aim for wind. I aimed for no wind because, we're surrounded by trees. It's like you really don't think that it's going to be much of a factor in there. But it was. And I just took it and move on because, like I said earlier, there's nothing you can change about what you've already done. So just fix it on the next hole or fix it on the next, 4 holes.
Yeah, and it sounds like too, sometimes we will have a good round and if it's a good round, we don't even think about anything else. We don't even think like, oh, I probably could improve here or there. Even though you won this tournament, from listening to you talk back, it does sound like you have gone back and thought about different areas of your game where you're like, that's something that I need to work on. That's something that I can fix. Because like you said, you are going to have Kristin in the field, Evelina, Hannah. You're going to have other people in the field. And if you want to try to stay on top and try to win, you want to give yourself as many chances as possible. And so I like hearing that from you, that you're not just like, oh, I won the tournament, let's go. But you're still looking at your round as like, oh, these are things that I can improve on in the future to get even better.
Yeah.
All right. So I do have this question, because initially I was like, all right, well, you're not playing on lead card, so it's you don't have that lead card pressure. But I'm looking at the people you're playing with: Kat Murch, Haley King, Missy Gannon, who Missy Gannon was charging too up the leaderboard that final round as well. How is it, going from playing, your local events with, people that you've grown up with and played against your whole life, to being dropped in and playing with some of the top FPO players in the world? How is that transition for you?
It's honestly been a really smooth transition. Like, I look at everybody as just a person. I just be my friendly self, and everybody else, like I said, everybody's been really welcoming. Everybody's been really friendly, treating me like I've been there forever. And that helps a lot with feeling comfortable playing with these players. I know the first time I played with Haley King, she, after the round, said that it was really great to finally play with me and that she really enjoyed it. And I enjoyed it as well. She's great. Missy Gannon, she's so sweet. And Kat Murch is like one of my best friends out there. So I was really comfortable being out there playing with a good card. And I find myself every weekend being like, oh, wow, I have a really good card of girls. Like, I'm excited to play with these girls every round. And I think that's great to have an entire field of girls that you're just happy to be there to play with,
I like it. Yeah, that's nice. Okay, so you kind of talked about this earlier, but I want to bring it back up, because watching through your final round and kind of how you were talking about your go-to shot is that like flat flex kind of line, and you were hitting it perfectly almost every single hole out there. I didn't see any forehands. And so I'm thinking in my head, like, oh my gosh, here we go again. We got another player that was able to just win a tournament because it didn't require any forehands. And are they going to struggle? That's going to be the question. Can they win again? They don't have a forehand. And you threw a nasty scramble shot on hole 16. Like, that is not, the camera doesn't do that justice. That hole, there are so many trees and the gaps are so tight. Very, very difficult shot. And you threw it very, very nicely. So where would you right now kind of put yourself on the forehand market, as far as like FPO goes? Where do you compare yourself with where your skill level is the forehand?
I mean, it could use some work. I do often go forehand for my op shots, just because I'm more comfortable and you're staring at the basket here, and when you're doing a backhand, you're looking away from the basket. And so I find that I'm more accurate with a little forehand approach shot, which is why that shot on 16 it felt so easy for me. I'm hitting that shot 9 out of 10 times. So I was super confident in that shot. Now, when a driver gets put in my hand, it's a little bit different. I've been working on it, and I've seen a lot of improvement, but there's still more to improve on. It's not the most consistent. It's not the farthest, but it's definitely there when I need it to be there, and that's all that I can ask for.
So when you're looking, you're playing that final round with Haley and Kat, are they throwing forehands on holes that you're like, man, I wish I had that forehand. This hole would be a lot easier?
I don't really remember much of them throwing forehands. I do know that, I think it's hole 13. First round, 2 people on my card threw a forehand, and it worked out really well for them. And I was like, man, I think I should take that line, but I'm just not comfortable with it because I didn't practice it. So I think going into next year at the Des Moines Challenge, if I if that hole is the same, I'm probably going to opt to a forehand for that hole. But I do playing on tour. I do see people take the forehand line, especially like Own. I see her take a forehand line that I'm just like,
Yeah.
wow, I didn't know that was there. So yeah, sometimes it's a little bit intimidating that, you know, these girls have every little aspect. But you know, I'm my own person. I gotta, I can throw an Annie just as well as some of these girls can throw a forehand. I can make that work.
Mm-hmm.
But I also have the forehand if I need it. It is there. It's just not as good as some of the girls.
Yeah, and you lean on it when you need to, you know, like to me, having the forehand is so valuable in the woods and scrambling. More so, like you said, you know, if you have the anti turnover backhand, a lot of these holes you can kind of get away with that off the tee. You don't have to really force the forehand. Okay, so you're looking at scores. We're past hole 16. You're looking at scores. The putt on 17, you had to know how important that putt was to put the pressure on the ladies that are behind you, to force them to have to play pretty much perfect golf on the way in. So like, how good of a feeling was that when you made that putt? And did you quickly have to be like, holy crap, I'm going to hole 18, a very difficult hole?
So yes, I knew that I needed that putt, and I knew that like when I made that putt, I was very excited. But quickly, I have a saying that I got from my dad, and that's game face. So it's like, yeah, I get excited about this putt, but right back to game face, because you can't just let like the excitement take over, because then you're liable to make a mistake. And 18, honestly, wasn't a hard hole for me. I didn't look at 18 and be like, this hole is difficult. I looked at 18 and I was like, it's a pretty simple hole. You know, you throw a hyzer, you throw an Annie, and you try to make a putt. That was all it was for me.
So that second shot, are you trying to miss on the right? Are you trying to say, hey, if I'm missing this thing, I'm throwing it into the woods on the right?
Yes, yeah. I actually thought that I did throw that up shot into the woods. I didn't know that it was inside C1. I thought it was in the woods. I was like, all right, well, I'm taking a par. That's what I was telling my caddy. I think there was like a camera on us. We were talking after I made that shot, and I was just like, I'm pretty sure I just threw it into the woods, but par's okay. And he was just like, we'll see whenever we get there.
Yeah, when I was watching that, I was thinking to myself, I was like, all right, Emily just needs to par this hole to force Natalie, because at that point, pretty much everyone had kind of fallen out of it. Own was taking bogeys. Holland went on a par stretch. So it was really just, I believe Natalie was really the only one that could kind of track you down there at the end. And when I was watching it, I was like, just take a par. Just take a par and force Natalie to have to birdie 18. And then, you know, see what happens in the playoffs. Like, go to the playoffs and see what happens. But the more I was thinking about it, it's like, there's not really like, you threw a great tee shot. There's not really a way for you to safely play that hole for par. Like, your safe play is the shot that you threw. So is that what you kind of meant by like saying like you're not going to change your game plan and like try to pitch up to the corner, and now all of a sudden you have a nervy like 200-foot up shot that you're like, oh, I don't want to mess that up?
Yeah, so I was just sticking to game plan. All my mindset was get out of the opening on the tee shot. If I get out of the opening on the tee shot, I'm going that Annie line. Had I not gotten out of the opening, had I hit a tree, I would have laid it up, and like at the turn there, I would have just laid it up in that opening there. But that was all I wanted. And then with the putt, I was like,
Did you know that was for the win pretty much?
Yeah, I did. Okay. I'm a very aggressive player. Like I play aggressively. especially with my putting. So there was no shot that I was going to lay that putt up or anything, because I was really confident. It was a C1 putt. It wasn't like uphill, downhill, nothing. It was pretty flat there. Not really any room to make a mistake, and I was confident that if I missed it, my comeback putt would be short, because you'll never really see me like flying past the basket, because my putt's
Yeah, you
a
have
pretty
actually
safe putt.
you have a really good putt. Like, you give it a good chance to go in, but you're right. There are some people on the FPO and even on the MPO where if they airball a putt, you're like, well, they have the same distance coming back. Your putt's very similar to like Yuli, of where it's more of a touch putt, of where it's coming in to the chain softly versus you trying to like blow up the chain. So
Yeah.
that probably does make that hole, like that putt on hole 18, like a lot less scary, because you're like, if I miss it, I'm going to have a 5-footer.
Yeah, exactly. And that was all I was thinking, is just, there's a crowd here. Make it.
There is a crowd.
So
Okay, so you make the putt, and at this moment in time, I don't know if you went back and watched the live coverage. At this moment in time, Ian Anderson actually had declared you the winner of the tournament, even though Natalie could still throw in to tie you. So the tournament technically was not over at that point. But I'm sure in your head, you're thinking, I feel really good about this. But are you immediately like, someone give me a phone, let me see, like, I need to watch coverage to see, like, how did that play out for you from making the putt to seeing basically both of their drives going OB and knowing that it was game over?
So I was kind of all over the place there. I made the putt. Everybody was giving me a hug. And then, yeah, you'll see me on my phone for a while. I was like watching them. Like, I was, how they have the like OB after one throw. That's what I was seeing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was just watching
Okay.
the live scoring and just waiting for them to come up. But like everything, I have really bad anxiety, so everybody around me was like talking, and I was just sitting there like, okay, all right, gotta like focus in and not freak out, But I stayed really calm. I actually did not have the reaction or the feeling that I thought I would have had winning. Like I thought I would cry the first time I won, and I didn't. I was really chill. So it was weird, but I mean, I don't have a problem with my reaction.
Yeah, you went with it. Yeah. And I think that was the first time someone won off the chase card in like several years too, in FPO. So again, kind of goes back to the parity that we were talking about, of where if you weren't in the top 4 going into the final round, you weren't winning the tournament. And now we're seeing like that might not be the case moving forward, which I think for everyone, that's a lot of excitement there. Like having someone push the field in front. I love that. Thoughts on the trophy? We love talking about trophies here. Any,
I love it.
Do you have it? Where are you showcasing that bad boy?
So right now,
Or is it like one of those? Was it one of those where you like take it and then you give it back, or because I saw that there was like engravings on past champions?
yeah, so I take it with me for the year and I bring it back
Okay.
to them next year. But yeah, it's in the living room right now. They have my parents put it like by the TV. When I got here last night, they took a picture of it and posted it on Facebook and said the champ is here. And everybody like got excited that I was home. So yeah, it's in there for them to look at right now. But I really love the trophy. It is so beautiful. It's huge. It's heavy. The flowers are great. I actually met the girl that put all the flowers in there and did the arrangement, and she's super sweet.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, she did a great job with it.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. I mean, I think that the trophy looks great by itself, but the flowers really actually kind of put the whole thing together. I mean, it looks like a massive trophy. So I loved it. I thought it was really, really cool looking. All right, last thing we're going to talk about here, unless you have other topics that you want to talk about, because I think a lot of people like to have different perspectives or like to hear different perspectives on the pod. But I do want to bring something up that we've mentioned here on the podcast before. And, going through coverage and watching some stuff, I noticed that you like playing with AirPods in. So, with that being said, what are your thoughts on the AirPod situation? And what do you have to say to those that think AirPods should not be allowed on tour?
Okay, so I play with my left one in and nothing in my right ear. I have my music down enough that I can hear everybody on my card. I'm normally one of the most talkative on my card. So it's not stopping me from communicating with my card. It's not stopping me from having a good time. I'm not being rude by any means to anybody on my card. The only time I'm asking somebody to repeat themselves is literally because I cannot hear. And that's not because of my earbud. That's just a me thing. But the music, it keeps me, like, if I see myself starting to shift mindsets into a negative one, I just focus on my music. I just, you'll see me like dancing around. I'm always having a good time, keeping the vibes up, because my music is there to like calm me down, keep me on ground level. So I don't think that having earbuds in is a bad thing. I know that there's a few people that do on tour, and I've played with some of them. Eliezer is one of them. Nobody that I've played with on tour that plays with earbuds in has ever been rude, has ever asked me to repeat myself because they couldn't hear me because of their earbud. It's not a problem, and I don't like people leaving negative comments like, oh, well, no other sport allows them, so why does this sport? Why does it matter? If it is allowed, we're not doing anything against the rules, so why are you bashing us, I just don't think that leaving negative comments about it is the right thing to do. By all means, do what you please. You can leave a comment if you'd like to, but if it's not bothering anybody on the card, if it's not affecting the gameplay, I don't see the problem in it.
So 2 follow-up questions. First one being, I don't actually wear headphones or listen to music unless the only time I really do that is like when I'm working out. And I've always, if you work out with headphones, it's always happened before. You get down, you're about to like bench press, and all of a sudden, like the song, like that you were, getting juiced to, all of a sudden changes, and it's like a weird song, and it's a completely like, I can't bench press to this song, and you got to change it. How does that work with like putting or throwing? Like, I'm assuming that happens sometimes, of where you got a song that you're going, and all of a sudden you step up to the tee and it turns to like a really weird song. Are you having to change the song, or are you just like, oh, I guess I'm throwing with this weird song in my ear? Like, how does that work for you?
So I have a playlist that I listen to every time I play that I created. So all the songs on it are songs that I'm like, oh yeah, I can play disc golf to this song. So I don't really have that happen. But even if I did, no, I'm not stepping off the tee to go change the song and then getting back up to tee. I'm not gonna affect the time like that just because my song isn't correct. I'm just, I also.
I mean, are you waiting for like the bass drop when you're putting? Like, if you feel like the beat is building, are you like how? I've always just wondered how that works. Of like when you putt and stuff during the song, like, does that matter at all?
Definitely sometimes. I know the only time that I'm really thinking about it is the tee shot on hole 1. I always play like a certain song, depending on the day. I'll be like, oh, I want to tee off to this song today, and I'm going to tee off to like this part of it. And that's about the only time that I think about that. But any other time, if it seems like it'll align good, then maybe. Definitely not on putting, because putting, I don't think about matching it up with the song because that'll like kind of mess me up. I just stick with my routine and putt whenever. The song, the music's just there to keep me calm when I'm like overthinking.
So my second question is, and it's kind of the response that we've gotten from everyone that talks about it, is they use it as like an enhancer. It helps them play better or keep calm or whatever. So we might end up finding the Disc Golf Pro Tour or the P2J, whoever it may be, might end up finding, hey, this is something that people are using to gain an advantage. Now, I agree with you. Anyone and everyone is allowed to use it. So right now, if you are using it, you're not breaking the rules by any means. But I could see in the future them being like, this is something that we kind of want to remove and we don't want to have. So have you thought about that happening in the future? And if so, like, what are you going to do to kind of be able to remain calm without music?
I mean, I can make do with whatever. I've played tournaments without an earbud in, and I've done fine. I know sometimes if I'm being that negative on myself to where my music isn't helping, I will take my earbud out and I'll literally just focus on my card mates to try and bring back my spirit. Because a lot of the times, if music isn't helping, then maybe talking to a friend on your card will. So I think just being able to talk to the card will be fine for me. Even if
Gotcha.
It's not that, if it's maybe my caddy, talking to my caddy is fine.
Yeah.
I'm not really worried if that happens. I'll find a way around it.
Nice. All right, we're going to finish it off. This is everyone's favorite part of everyone's interview is pet peeves. So if you don't know, we basically ask everyone that comes on, like, what are the things that get under your skin that happen in disc golf? This could be stuff that you see on the Pro Tour. This could be stuff that you see in your local scene. This could be literally anything. And it can be super serious or it can be super funny. It doesn't really matter. It's really whatever you find, hey, this is something that just really irks me, really gets under my skin when I see this or when this happens. Do you have anything that pops off?
Oh man, that's a good one. There's not a lot of things that mess with me just because, like, a lot of the times if I'm throwing specifically, it's just me and my shot, me and the basket. Like, I don't let any outside noise or anything bother me unless it's like a loud bang or a loud scream or someone like intentionally doing it at this time of my throw or the time of my putt.
Yeah.
But other than that, no, not really. I don't really, that's a good question. I've never really thought about that. Outside
It sounds
of
like nothing really gets under your skin, it sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, outside of disc golf, I have pet peeves. I know that, like, I don't like going out of turn. So if somebody's like, unless it's a tap in putt.
Oh, interesting.
If it's a tap in putt, that's fine. But if it's like, hey, I'm trying to fix my bag or I'm trying to like put this jacket on, you can go ahead and go for pace of play. I would rather sit back.
Hate that.
I would rather sit back and wait because it's gonna mess me up. I know that I had it happen, or I waited on somebody to fix their bag or something, and they told me afterwards that I could have just went, and I was just like, yeah, I'm not gonna do that because it was it was your turn. You can take your 30 seconds. You were fine. You weren't rushing. I wasn't rushing you, and I just wasn't comfortable with going, and that's for me to choose because you were out and I was, it wasn't my turn yet. So yeah, that's probably what my pet peeve would be, is like me going out of turn. If anybody else does, it does not bother me at all. But me specifically, I will feel bad about it.
I think you're gonna start having all these people start asking you to go. Be like, hey, I gotta use the restroom real quick. You can go ahead. Mm-hmm. You just gave a little insight into how people can beat you in the future. Is just keep trying to force you to have to go before them. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, any sponsor shout outs? Any shout outs that you want to give while you're on here?
I'll shout out my main sponsor, which is Raise Energy Abilene. They are energy drinks or they're kind of changing into course fuel. So it's like snacks, energy drinks, all of that jazz. And I should have some with me going back on tour to like Ledgestone. I should have some Raise Energy, some snacks and stuff, especially with the new RV that I'm going to have. It's a little Class C. I'm excited about it. I'll have a lot more
Nice.
room to like carry stuff with me. So, yeah, shout out to them. Shout out to my parents, of course. Love them.
Any place to, support you and buy discs or anything like that of yours?
Just through me. I normally answer Messenger, Instagram. I do have some discs with my stamp on them that I'm willing to ship out. But
Okay.
I don't know how long they're going to last because I'm back home, and I know that a lot of people are wanting them back home. So we'll see.
So what's your Instagram so people can follow you?
It's Emily.Weathermen.
There you go. All right, fantastic. Do you have anything else for the people? This was awesome. You did great. This is really good.
Just believe in yourself. Always believe in yourself because you can do it.
There you have it. All right. Well, I appreciate it so much. Thank you. Next tournament you said is Ledgestone?
Yes.
Next event?
Mm-hmm.
There you have it. All right. Very cool. I know myself, and everyone watching, we're going to be very excited to kind of continue to follow your journey. I mean, it's a crazy story thinking that you were just going to play a couple events in Texas and now all of a sudden you're a winner on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. Crazy story. I appreciate you jumping on here. Thank you so much. And we wish you the best of luck moving forward.
Yeah, thank you for having me.